Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. The movie podcast that drops every Monday to make Monday a fun day, because we try to answer a question that is altogether pretty much impossible as we try to define each state in the United States by just one movie. I, of course, am Ollie Petscrew. I love movies. I've hosted movie shows, but movies are my passion, much like one of my two amazing co-hosts. We've got Ryan Sander. Welcome back, buddy.
Oh, it's great to be here, man. I just ate a 96-pound steak, and boy, is my incest tired. Oh boy, this was a week. I for sure thought that, like we talked about on our last episode, that The Witches of Eastwick has still stuck with me. But now, after watching two of these movies, my brain is now scrambled.
I could not agree more. In fact, I was thrilled with our choices from this particular week because it got weird. But we'll get into that once we introduce our other amazing co-host, finder of random movies. He sits 24 hours a day in his own blockbuster video store. Will Hirsch, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Thank you guys for having me back. I'm just sitting here unshaven, unshowered, because I wanted to honor the spirit of Wisconsin this week. Because according to these movies, that's what Wisconsin is like. Just grimy and filthy.
You're being a real Dutch right now.
Oh, yes. So we have our list of states that we haven't done yet. Look at that. It's an official list. And chosen entirely at random. Last week, we ended up on Wisconsin. Wisconsin ended up being...
Wisconsin, what's wrong with you?
What hurt you, Wisconsin?
We need to pull you aside, Wisconsin, and have a talk.
Show us,
it does
show
not
us on the map
well.
where they touched you, Wisconsin. Because it got weird. It got weird, but I have to be honest, I had a great time this week watching.
I'm ashamed to admit how much fun I had watching these movies.
One of these movies I was so happy you guys picked, because it's such a if you're like me and you're a fan of really obscure stuff, and there's one movie you guys picked where I was like, oh my God, they're gonna watch it. It was like having somebody like read your diary, like read your inner thoughts for the first time. It's like, oh, get this with you guys.
This is another episode where I don't remember who picked what movie. I was like, didn't you pick that movie?
I think that's Will. So Will, why don't you tell us about that movie? You can take that one.
Okay. Well, so the movie I'm talking about is The Giant Spider Invasion, which I'm a kid who grew up. My love of bad movies comes from Mystery Science Theater. That was a foundational show to like my sense of humor, to what I find funny. I watched it all the time as a kid, and this is one of my favorite episodes is when they did this movie. So the MST3K version, I think I've seen like, I can't even count countless times. I put like Mystery Science on when I'm like going to sleep. So I've seen this so many times, but I have watched it without their commentary before. What a vibe shift that is. But this is... No, but I was so happy you guys watched this.
Had you seen the movie first and then saw the Mystery Science, or okay?
No, this is one of those. I saw Mystery Science first, like Manos: The Hands of Fate. Saw the Mystery Science first, and then I was like, I gotta seek this movie out.
So you're watching this movie, but you're still hearing their commentary. Like
I can't. It's burned into my head. Like I could repeat all the jokes.
Right.
I won't. I'll spare you.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised I'd never heard of this movie. I used to host a show for Cinemax called EPOD on Max, which was basically the Mystery Science Theater 3000 of Asian television, where I would just shred the movies that Cinemax was putting on every week, which was so much fun. And it would sometimes be, it was always creature features like this. So The Giant Spider Invasion is a 1975 movie. It's directed by Bill Rebane, who interestingly, and there's many, many interesting facts about this movie, but he ran for governor of Wisconsin in 1979 and 2002. In fact,
I think this movie was his campaign video. This is what he ran on.
If you hate giant spiders, vote for me.
It stars Steve Brody, Barbara Hale, Alan Hale Jr. I don't know if they're related. Leslie Parrish, Robert Easton, and it tells the story of a giant spider invasion. Though I do remember, because we often have our text threads going throughout the week as we each take down the movie. Sometimes we're doing them at the same time. And I believe the first text I saw about this movie was from Ryan going, so far, no giant spiders, mostly a small spider invasion.
Just regular sized spiders, yeah. For a good 35 minutes, I think.
for a very long time.
Yeah.
It does get big.
Yeah.
But what it
does-
lacks in spiders, it makes up for in everything else.
Yeah,
In filth and incest and just
alcoholism, the
yeah.
plot, just hookers,
Uh-huh.
just all of it. It really is.
Yeah.
It's all there. It's a treasure, and we cannot wait to get into this
Yeah.
movie. But we've got two other ones. So the one that I chose is equally strange. Way out there, troubling in so many ways, but also weirdly kind of good, while at the same time being
It's certainly not bad. I don't know if it was
it's
good,
I
but-
said that it's the kind of movie that I expect Will to buy on the only he'll find the only Blu-ray copy on the planet.
immediately
I
on a
think-
watch list.
yeah, no, if you buy this movie, the just SWAT team kicks in the doors and just
You
arrests
went to your
there.
you went to your video rental place and they already had it waiting for you.
They're like, we know.
Yeah.
Here's your weirdo movie.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it's a
guys.
weirdo movie. The weirdo movie that I chose is called The Incubus from 1982. It's directed by John Howe, who directed, funny enough, Orson Welles in Treasure Island. I directed a bunch of movies, actually, but he also directed this 1986 movie called Biggles, which I watched. I used to have that on VHS, which is based off these books I used to read because Biggles was a World War I pilot. But of course, it's the 80s, so he goes through a time warp and ends up in 1986 because movies. But I'm going to have to find that movie. But
Sure.
I chose The Incubus because it had an interesting cover. It sounded weird, and I was kind of hoping for something along the lines of The Wraith. Unfortunately, it's something more along the lines of The Rapes, because it is, well, The Incubus. If you know what an incubus is kind of like, a malevolent force that attacks women. And this movie spends a lot of time talking about sperm and how much there is.
Yeah.
It got weird.
This
It
movie
got weird.
opens the opening lines of this movie are "you bitch," followed by "bitch."
Yeah.
Because yes, it does. It opens with a girl in a bikini by some sort of like a quarry that's now filled with water, and the guy comes over and he doesn't stand and block the sun. It really annoyed me that he didn't stand
Same.
1 inch to the
Oh,
left
that was so irritating.
and block
Yeah.
the sun. It would have been a great shot. But he goes in for a kiss. She turns away, and so he calls her "you bitch," and that's how the movie starts. And well, actually, the movie starts close up on an eye, and we have some symmetry there. But from that point on, it gets strange. But I was expecting to start roasting the movie, and instead I was going, "Huh, that was a good shot. That looked good."
Yeah, I was
This is
kind of
actually
fascinated to it.
Yeah.
It was so adjacent to like so many other movies, like I mentioned, like a Texas Chainsaw
Texas
kind of thing.
Chainsaw
Like
Massacre.
it had all of those that feels. It had that like
In the Mouth of Madness vibes.
yeah, that kind of weird.
Yeah.
what's that horror genre? Like the metaphysical genre, the horror, like with the
There's a
Cthulhu's
genre
and
of
whatnot.
metaphysical
Yeah.
horror.
Oh, cosmic horror.
Yes,
type
yes,
stuff?
yes. Thank you. It
Yeah.
had that kind of like ooh, because you don't see what happens, but man, what a fucking twisty movie this is.
It
Twisted.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
weird.
And especially you're just like, huh? And then, we'll get
Ooh.
into that. But
We get a bit more incest as well. That seems to be a theme in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
yeah. Every one of these movies had at least a comment that made me go like, what? Ew. No,
Yeah.
why are you saying that?
But there was
But,
more,
yeah.
there's one more movie
Mhm.
that was brought to the table. I think it was a movie that both Ryan and I watched when we were younger. I remember watching it as
Yeah.
a kid. It was kind of
Love
fun
it.
to revisit, but at the same time interesting. Ryan, tell us about your choice.
I picked John Candy's The Great Outdoors, which I somehow always mix up with Summer Rental, which is another absolute favorite of mine. With John
That's
Candy.
it's so funny. Sorry,
Yeah.
just real quick. My roommate Ryan did the same
name.
thing last night.
Yeah.
It's funny because you guys are the same exact person. And he also last night was like, "Oh, Summer Rental. Oh no, this is a Great
It's
Outdoors."
the other
So-
one. But they're so similar, kind of. But yeah, this movie's great. Dan Aykroyd is just the biggest scumbag. And other
So
people
good.
are in it too.
Yeah.
Starring Bart the Bear and his bear ass.
Yeah, yes. So you got The Great Outdoors from 1988, written by John Hughes, but directed by Howard Dutch, or Deutsch. I'm going with Dutch. He directed Pretty in Pink. He directed a lot of movies, actually. Grumpier Old Men. He did a lot of sequels. He directed The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, which my wife likes that movie.
I like the movie.
I like that. Yeah.
And he's directed a lot of television since then as well. So he's directed. He worked with John Hughes quite a bit. It's a movie that kind of like it feels like a John Hughes movie, like 30-40% of the time.
Yeah, there are hints of it like sprinkled throughout, and you're like, I had that exact same thought while I was watching this.
Yeah, it's not a John Hughes movie, but it is a John Hughes movie. Yeah, John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, Annette Bening in her debut.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Oh,
yeah.
This is her first ever film. I'm like, man, she came out the gates killing it. Is it Stephanie Faracy as well as the other missus, and Robert Prosky? He's the guy that runs the place, and he turns up like he's in Thief. He's in all kinds of movies.
I saw him and I was like, oh, that's the movie screen guy from Last Action Hero.
That's
the only
exactly
other thing. I
what
was
I was
like,
gonna
oh
say.
shit, and he looks exactly the same.
Yeah, he's got that face. He's got an incredible because he's in Thief, which what a great movie that is. The Natural, Broadcast News, Great Outdoors, Gremlins 2, of course, Grandpa.
Oh yeah,
Frank,
he's the
Gremlins
grandpa.
2.
Right.
Far and Away, Last Action Hero, Hoffa, Rudy, yes, Father Kavanaugh from Rudy, Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, this guy is a banger. He's got an incredible career. Incredible career.
What a great character actor. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
But
just his movies.
He'll always be the film screener from Last Action Hero to me.
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly him and who's the Charles Dance, the villain of that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I just always see his character from Last Action Hero.
Great villain with the eyeballs.
With the eyes.
We should talk about that movie.
We should talk about
yes.
that movie. It's a movie that I think was so far ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It was
And
misunderstood.
we can do that episode for both New York and California. So
Sweet.
synergy.
So I'll tell you what. Let's start with The Great Outdoors, Ryan, because it was like yeah. Well, actually, just your memory of The Great Outdoors.
Yeah, I think this is probably another movie I watched that they screened on VHS at my summer camp. And
How many movies did you see at summer camp?
A lot. Like
Summer
anytime
camp,
it was up in Pennsylvania, and anytime it would rain, we couldn't really do like outdoor activities, so they would move us up the hill we had like a movie theater, and they would just screen things like Ferris Bueller and Escape from New York and this movie. And then I remember watching it like later on as I got a little bit older with my dad, and he loves this movie. And it's still a classic to me. Like I hold it pretty near and dear to my heart. I do feel like I remember it being a lot sillier.
Yes.
But it really isn't. Like it's a little more serious at times than you would think, that like compared to maybe a Summer Rental, which is a little more slapsticky, or a Who's Harry Crumb,
I love the way that your parents spent money to send you off to a summer camp, and it just ended up like, what do we do? I watched 700 movies. Get outside, enjoy the outside.
No.
Yeah,
I was definitely I was an indoor kid for sure. Like if David Hyde Pierce came to my summer camp to make like some fucking weird satellite thing, I'd be on board.
Absolutely.
What about you, Will? I think this is like, have you ever watched The Great Outdoors? Have you been exposed to this? Because for me and Ryan, it was very much a child.
Have you ever been outdoors?
Yeah.
Oh, ew, no. There's bugs and stuff out there, and I know kids love bugs, but no, I've never seen this movie before. I actually bought it on Blu-ray because sometimes I'll go through a kick where I'm like, hey, I don't have any of this person's movies. So for a while, I'm like, I need a lot of John Candy movies. So I bought like 3 or 4 on Blu-ray just to add them to my collection. So I just bought this one, just like, this seems like it's good. So this is my first opportunity to watch it. And it's this is not a me, myself, and Irene situation. It's not like that level of like, why does everyone think this is funny? I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. I enjoy it. I definitely like that I have it in my collection. I wouldn't say I laughed though.
Yeah,
maybe
I
one or
it
two
being
parts.
Funnier.
The bit where they go to the old man's birthday, who's I don't know 108 years old, or something insane.
Yeah,
where there are bits of this that like there are like iconic scenes to me that I remember, like when he's eating the steak, when he's water skiing, things like that.
See, those are the two I was going to say. It's water skiing and skating.
But like rewatching this, I'm like, I strangely resonated with Dan Aykroyd's character a bit more than I did with John Candy's character. Because I think when I first saw this, I was like the age of maybe that teenage boy, and you think that like that summer romance and things like that. And but watching it now as I'm older, I'm like, oh, Dan Aykroyd, what a dick.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was
like
funny.
The way you're introduced to him, like, so he's interrupting their vacation. He crashes their house, and the first thing he does is turn up and videotape his wife topless. you know,
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, dude, what a dick.
And
What are you
again,
doing?
that's his sister,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's no, it's her.
this was going to
right?
be my question:
But
as who is he related to?
It's
Because it
his
seemed to
Dan Aykroyd
change.
is his brother-in-law.
no. So I think the two ladies are sisters, and so
That's
the
what I
two,
think it is.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So and that
Really?
because I had the same thing because I'm never very specific about it. I go,
Yeah.
wait a minute. So
I
I spent
misremembered. I thought they were brothers when I was like
exactly. I thought as
first
well,
watching
and
it.
it's not. It's so yeah. As far as I figure. I took about 20 minutes of context clues going, no, I think Annette Bening and Stephanie Faracy are sisters, and the two men they've married don't vibe very
Because
well.
they don't come across as sisters at all in this
No,
movie.
it's
No.
Like
it's
there's
only
no
sort of towards the end where there's a bit of competition where the arguing's going on, the blow it out your ass scene kind of
yeah, I guess.
thing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. There was this movie. That's what I mean by it being kind of like a 40% John Hughes movie because I was confused about that. And then there were subplots that are unnecessary, like the summer romance subplot with the girl that like once you said young Heather Graham, that's all I could see.
Yeah, yeah.
Very very spot on. But that was it's irrelevant. As in he picks her up, has one date that doesn't go well, has a kiss at the end, and then he leaves. And it's like, and then you've got the for no real reason you've got the talking but not talking. What are they called? Raccoons that come
Yeah.
up to take the
Yeah.
trash.
Real weird.
And then you've also got the guy that gets struck by lightning, who talks about getting struck by lightning and gets struck by lightning, but
66 times.
irrelevant.
Yeah. It's
66.
pretty pivotal to the end, I think. Yeah, but you're right. It's like all these throwaway like little vignettes that don't really advance the plot at all.
Yeah.
You got his creepy twin daughters, and which are like freckled and redheads for some odd reason. They just like found the two creepiest kids they could.
They were good.
Really
I did
fucking
like the
this movie.
bit where like so John Candy's that. That's the bit I like as well. John Candy telling the story of the bear
Yeah, it's great.
and like how he shoots. There's the bald-headed bear, and he has that bit where he throws it and the fire goes up. But it was the bit later where Dan Aykroyd sort of hears John Candy being a good dad, so he goes in to talk to his daughters about, don't worry about the bear. It's
Yeah.
more likely that there'll be psycho
Oh my God.
murderers out in the forest and stuff, and he's trying to calm them down.
Yeah.
They just stay awake all night.
military experiments or something. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
That cut though is because then the kids wake up in the morning and they're just like they're not asleep at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
They
good.
kept
It's
their
got
eyes open the whole
it's
night.
got a bunch of like really well done like visual gags, but like you said, it's not like uproarious, laugh out loud funny. But I remember it as being this like very iconic, funny film when I was younger.
So essentially what it does, we kind of touched on it, but it tells a story about John Candy and his family who go to this lake in Wisconsin from Chicago, and I'm using the terms Wisconsin because it's California. And then Dan Aykroyd and Annette Bening with their kids, they come and crash it. He's very much a sort of a mover and shaker. He does investments. He's got the expensive watch. They're eating lobster tails the first night. He drives a Mercedes, and he's kind of like he's always messing with and talking down to John Candy, who's just there to sort of relive the sort of things he used to do with his dad. But as the plot continues, it basically comes down to the fact that Dan Aykroyd is actually bankrupt, and he's trying to swindle John Candy out of some money. Basically,
Yeah.
but it's just more about the hijinks that they sort of get into. I think the best scene that is the sort of the jet boat or the boat with far too much horsepower, like out on that lake. But it's where there's the water skiing scene. Very
Incredible.
impressive stunts. I have to be honest.
The other scene, Will, you mentioned this on another episode, is the because we were talking about the Tom fucking sorry the oh my god, from Tommy Boy, the Chris Farley movie,
the other Chris Farley movie.
Yeah, Black Sheep, where they're in the cabin with the bat.
Yes.
This has that same like bat type scene, which is fantastic.
Bat scene.
Yeah.
Okay, that was funny.
It took me a while to get there. I'm sorry.
The bat scene, that was I love the way that they're dressed up and stuff like that. That's a good one.
It's good.
I was missing more stuff like that in the movie. I was kind of
Yeah.
like, why is there not more of this?
I thought there was like I definitely
Yeah.
misremembered. Like I said, I thought it was a little more slapsticky, a little more comedy forward, but it's kind of neutered a little bit.
Yeah, and it's funny. This movie, and then we'll get to Incubus later. I think both kind of suffer from a similar issue, which is
Too much
I feel
sperm?
like there's way too much sperm.
Yeah.
Which is like I feel like there's 10 or 15 minutes that have been cut out, and like these movies are like too short. They're both like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But like in like Great Outdoors is exactly like 90 minutes. But
Yeah.
like watching it, I'm like, I feel like we're missing some
They
stuff.
cut
like,
15 minutes out and replaced it with talking raccoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I know exactly. See, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's both. It feels like a movie that's inserted scenes to make sure it's long enough, and at the same time feels like a movie where you've cut stuff out. I think the proof in the pudding, Will, being the credits are some musical number that was never in the movie.
Why? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
from the timeline of the movie, they've already left this place. So where was this
Right.
moment supposed to be happening in the movie, and why? And you've got Dan Aykroyd dancing with, John Candy's missus, and it's got this whole thing. So I'm with you. I'm like, there's a whole plot that's been cut out here that doesn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like it might have been trimmed out because maybe jokes weren't working or something, but those jokes also contained like, who is everybody related to? Like things like that. And like, does the lightning guy come back like in any meaningful way? So I just feel like there was stuff that was like, maybe they're like, this isn't like funny enough, so let's cut it. But then accidentally some story got cut out and they're like, well, we can't put it back in. What if raccoons talked? Okay, yeah, let's do that.
And they,
You know.
It's in the movie.
I mean, I do like the raccoon bits, and it's like
Yeah.
they've written some funny stuff, and
It's
this is
made
why we've
from
got
lips
these
and
good figures.
assholes. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
talking about the hot dogs. You know what hot dogs are made out of? Lips and assholes. I still think about that, and I love hot dogs.
Who?
Oh yeah.
doesn't? But yeah, it's a movie that I enjoyed, but I similar to Will, I think I had that same feeling of when's it going to bring the yucks? I mean, there are bits that, like I said, I love the steak part. That's one that is burnt into my memory as a kid.
You ain't
because it's
done.
like,
Yeah.
you ain't done yet. It's the gristle, and it's one of my favorite parts. I think it's a gif that I'm going to start using is that
Yeah,
moment of like
clawing
John
away.
Candy like grabbing when he's terrified of the gristle. It's like, and then he comes out wearing the shirt and he looks so bad. Like, I love the
And
way he
somehow-
starts. Well, I always remember that where he's like sharpening the knife and fork,
Yeah.
like, and he starts delicately eating it, kind of thing.
Yeah, the daintiest little bites possible. Yeah.
But I was
He's
was
still
like a
such a
well-done
comedic
steak.
powerhouse that he like can carry this whole thing. Like,
Exactly.
but there's also, something super sweet and endearing about him, like as a dad and as a husband. Like, I think he
Yeah.
can play
He's
all
John
those
Candy.
roles so well.
You
Yeah.
want him to be Uncle Buck. You want him to be
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
guy from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You want him to just be the guy that he always is in these movies, where you're like, he's got this heart. He's got this, just that he brings to it. It's sort of like there's something behind him when he's looking at his kids, and he's deciding to be.
He's got a black belt in Aikido and the boots to match.
Though wasn't there a joke in there about like right at the beginning about Dan Aykroyd talking about, oh, you're gonna give yourself a coronary, you're gonna, it's like the whole, and I was like, oh shit,
Oh, yeah.
that's exactly what happens in a few years. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, man. But outside of that, it was,
Yeah, other than death of an actor.
Way to bring it down.
I mean, John Candy just has that quality where he can really sell you on kind of like any stupid or comedic idea. If there's a sketch I like to point out, because I don't think the sketch is like necessarily that funny, but John Candy being who he is makes the whole thing work, which is it's an old SCTV sketch where he's a food repairman, and it's people are calling in being like, yeah, it's like some of my pie has been eaten. He's like, all right, well, let me tell you what you want to do. And he like goes into it like he's like mechanic. And it's like, it's not really funny, but just his line delivery and the way he's performing it, you just end up watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
it's
Like,
like,
man,
it's
that's
like
the magic of that guy.
his cameo in Home Alone, where he was only there for one day, and 95% of everything he says is just him improvising.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, he just steals the movie. In that way.
Another great one, Will, if you're buying those DVDs, maybe if you've seen Armed and Dangerous, it's with him and Eugene Levy.
Eugene Levy.
I haven't,
That's a-
but
I
that's a
grew up
fantastic
on that movie.
Oh, so good.
It's Meg
I need to see
Ryan.
that.
Meg
Yeah.
Ryan as
It's great.
well.
Mhm.
It's one of those classic sort of 80s. It's like Dragnet. It's like
they're like two security guards, right?
Yeah. So like I think he was a cop, and then they all go to sort of like they become security guards for like a armored car. And it's like they go through like 3 hours of training. It's like Police Academy, but not.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely
funny.
involves. It's one of those movies that finds a way to always end up in one of those like coin operated sort of like peep shows sort of thing.
Yeah. I was like, don't they cross dress? I think in that,
Yes,
right? A bit.
yes, they
Yeah,
do.
it's
It's
fantastic.
it's. I was just watching that the other day,
It's
actually.
really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
him and
Arnold and
Eugene,
Davis.
like because they were so famously together on SCTV, and just to see them
Yeah.
together, it's comic gold. It's yeah. I mean, they were a perfect duo, much like David Spade and Chris Farley. They're great.
Well, I'll check
Concur.
that out then. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll like that one. I
Yeah.
mean, it is one of the. It's just one of those movies.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did like. It's the bit I was talking with my. I was having lunch with my wife's family, and I was mentioning I was doing Wisconsin, and I mentioned the great outdoors, and one of my brothers-in-law was just immediately like, just starts laughing and goes, "Man, that bare ass bear still cracks me up."
That bear's got a fucking donker on it. That was
Yeah.
hilarious. That I audibly laughed out loud when it's running out the thing.
Yeah, with
The most
yeah.
perfect shotgun blast to its ass, and it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. Well, first of all, credit to Bart the Bear, incredible work all around.
Yeah.
If you ever get to see the movie The Bear, or the one with the Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins, the Edge, great
Yeah.
movie.
Is that the same bear?
I don't know. I think they're all just called Bart the Bear. I don't know. Who can
I
who
tell
can
you,
say?
because there was some stuff that I was like going, you know, there's the bit where he goes with his son to see the bears, and there's two bears sitting on his car, and as he backs out, I go, that's
Fucking
John
three
Candy
bears. Yeah.
with real
Yeah.
bears, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah,
and
there's
later on,
kinda
that's
no-
John
That was
Candy.
nuts.
Yeah, kind of
Oh, and
no other
that-
way to film that other than like, all right, we're gonna put bears on this
And
car. It,
I
you know,
I don't know if this is a thing, Wisconsin, but there's just like what they consider like a bear dump, where it's just trash that bears then come out to, which you can drive to and watch the bears. Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
it says don't feed the bears, but it's like, no, but you can throw trash into our beautiful, beautiful national park area and allow these bears to. I'm
And
like, yeah,
it's full of trash. He's throwing like Zagnut
just
bars at
bags.
it.
People just hucked bags out of their car
And
while
then
driving past.
he puts one on the hood of the car, and then he's upset that the bear gets on the car. What did you think was going to happen there?
But then you've got that shot with the bear claws going through
Oh
the
my God.
windscreen. Again, you're like,
Or
and there's the
later on-
child actor as well. I'm like
Yeah.
going, what the fuck
Well,
is happening?
This was the 80s. Child endangerment didn't.
right.
But even
yeah.
later, when the bear is like jumping,
Yeah.
it bursts through the door, and it's like jumping on him. And then they have this bald cap like on the bear. How do you apply that? Like,
That's what I was wondering. Is I was like, is this just a really good like Jim Henson puppet, or is this
no, that
is
was
this a bear?
it looked, yeah.
Is-
I didn't even think of that the whole time. I'm like, that's a real ass motherfucking bear.
Yeah, because there's kind of the entire time there was a lot of things, you know, like the skiing stunts. There was a lot of things in this movie where I'm like,
Yeah.
this is '88. There's not another way to do this than
No.
to actually do it. So
They just got like a
Wow,
professional
okay.
water skier in like a body suit, like a fat suit, and just. But
He
the
was
stuff that he's doing is
incredible.
so good. Yeah.
That water
Yeah.
skier played the I don't know how to water ski. Like his physical acting was
Yeah.
impeccable.
When he loses one ski and he's going
Yeah.
off the jumps, like it was very. And the boat is so ridiculous. This jet boat,
yeah,
so fucking funny. He's like, you've got it in neutral, and he just drives up in the thing. You see it scratches. Fucking great. Great.
But it's the bit I do like the whole like because this is also true is that when you've got the guy water skiing and again you know sometimes we've made movies and we've done stuff is that we think about how are they doing that and you realize they've got the camera mounted on the boat so you've got the shot it is Dan Aykroyd driving it. You've got Annette Bening. The actors are all on
Yeah,
this
they're
boat.
in
'Cause
the-
They did other shots from a boat from the side where they pan from the guy, and then you realize, okay, so you've got Dan Aykroyd operating this high-powered boat on a. It's like all of these sort of things. I go insurance and
Yeah.
oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I thought about. Is I'm just like, how
It
did
was the
anyone approve
80s.
this?
Did
Yeah.
not matter.
it's
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
Is this pre or post Twilight Zone movie?
This is
Because
again. This is always the question. Is
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause
when was
maybe
the
if-
Twilight
if
Zone
this is
movie?
pre Twilight Zone movie, then okay, I understand everyone being like, "What
Twilight
safety?"
Zone movie?
Yeah.
83, guys.
Oh wow, man. So
Yeah, I would have had it the other way
All
around
right.
as well. I go, this must be a
That-
pre-Twilight Zone
That
movie.
explains the Incubus.
Yeah.
hired a real Incubus for that movie.
God.
But
But that's the thing is that there are like it's clearly like a lot of it's shot on location. I mean, of course, once you get inside the house, but there was a lot of sort of on location stuff. They do use the location well. You know, they're wandering around town. They're going to the burger place. You got them meeting on the dock. You got the idea that there's another gag that I did laugh about is when it's kind of like a long shot. They've got everyone up to go fishing, and he's like, "What are these? Are these worms?" He says, "No, they're leeches." And then it's like, "All right, okay, everybody, 1, 2, 3," and they'll go ooh. But then it cuts to they've all fallen asleep in the rain, and they're all covered with leeches, and it's just that one.
God.
They all wake up going ah, and I was like, okay, I like that bit.
I mean, we've gone on record on this podcast. We love a good leech bit. We do.
Yeah.
Stand By Me. This one.
Stand By
That's
Me.
all I got.
Yeah,
that was just the all right. So just those two. Just those two.
Yeah, send in suggestions for more Leech movies.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
But
I
like,
mean, the cabin itself, which I think most people, will recognize from the TV show. Everybody say it with me. Season 1 of Star Trek Picard. Oh, I thought everyone was going to say it with me.
I thought you were going to go with Harry and the Hendersons, the TV show.
No, that would be awesome though. But yeah, I remember reading somewhere like this is where they shot The Great Outdoors for an episode of Picard where they go to the cabin. Yeah, and so the entire movie, I was like, where did Riker and Troy sleep? Where are they?
That was with Riker's house. Oh, I dig it. I like this.
How many bare-ass bears are in that show?
Just Riker.
So did you know something else randomly that I saw while I was reading about this movie is that Dan Aykroyd and John Candy play these roles in another John Hughes movie, which I think stars Kevin Bacon. And it's like, she's having a baby.
Oh.
So they appear. That's a John Hughes movie. It's written by John Hughes, directed by John Hughes. Never actually seen that movie. Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth McGovern, newlywed couple try to cope with married life and their parents' expectations. But they have Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, and they have Ferris Bueller as Ferris turn up, and they all have opinions on the kids' names. So it sort of turns up in a kind of credit sequence that kind of connects all of these John Hughes movies into, well, not only Chicago, because we know, but the fact that all these people actually know each other. So it's kind of like the John Hughes-averse.
The Hughes-averse, yeah.
Yeah,
and Kevin Bacon is playing the character he played in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles in the very beginning of the movie when he's taking the cab away from Steve Martin.
And so
she's like, I got a baby to get to.
She's Having a Baby came out in 1988 as well, and I feel weirdly, I think came out before. Yeah, it came out in February, whereas this one came out in the summer. So these guys turned up as their characters in another movie before this movie, weirdly enough, which is just, it's before the MCU. It was like he turns up, post-credit scene says, we're putting a team together. It's the John Hughes protocol. And like, I think, Ryan just had an orgasm.
You should see all this.
It's like an Incubus was here.
Troubling amounts of sperm.
An incredible amount. I would like to see, like, if someone could tie it together. I'm sure there already exists a YouTube video of like all of the John Hughes characters in the Hughes-averse, kind of how they link up, and 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. That's probably a thing, right?
Well, that's a good idea.
Copyright it now. You get
That's an idea that I think, you should do that. That's a great idea, Ryan. What an original idea.
I mean,
well done.
Those are the only kind I have.
I guess. See, so if they're all connected, I mean, in that case, Dan Aykroyd really should have been playing Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
Ooh.
Oh, that would have been great.
That would have been the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And then you get the guys from Weird Science as well.
Ooh.
You got Bill Paxton. It means we can put Paxton in the movie.
Yes, Chet.
I think they were going to do like,
history.
I think John Hughes was going to do like an Avengers style Endgame film, but he died. So
well. Now I'm the one bringing it down. So apparently that ending that gets set up like the beginning when they talk about, oh, your kids were in the mine area and the kids, dumbest kids in the world, going into a mine in a rainstorm. You idiots. But apparently it was actually going to come during a daring rescue of his girls who were caught a giant fish and it towed them around the lake. And a big mechanical fish was built for the film, but they couldn't make it work. Very Jaws-like. And so they rewrote the script to have, as they say it, the legendary bald-headed bear. Which I think that's the thing that most people remember is like, the bit where, and I do like, so they set up, the shotgun, that's the lamp that gets used. And I like the bit the guy comes in, but he's still plugging in the lamp.
Yeah. That was so weird. I was like, okay.
God. It's burned into my brain that the ass of that bear as it runs out of fucking
Just
thing.
ding, 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 ding.
It's so hilarious.
Yeah, it's
How
like
did they
J-Lo and
shave
Nicki
that
Minaj
bear?
all combined.
Yeah. How
If
did they
Leonardo
shave that?
DiCaprio had only shot the hair off a bear's ass, it would have saved him in that whole movie.
Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
god.
Man.
Yeah, the Revenant, man.
That's what it reminds me of.
So yeah, I mean, it's the pieces are there. It's assembled well. It works as a movie, but you
Yeah.
feel like there was a bigger movie there. You feel like there was potentially a, because when we talked about like Ferris Bueller, we talk about those when they turn up as those perfect movies. And I think, this is one of those movies that I think both Ryan and I remember watching it with our parents. I remember so often these movies as well, the ones that I recorded off TV, that I remember the trailers that were playing on BBC or ITV that to let you know that a movie's coming. So they would cut their own sort of trailers that would feature shots. And so I remember the shots of like the water skiing over the camera.
the jump.
And the
jump.
jump
Yeah.
shot and stuff like that. They're just in my memory. And like the bear standing up and roaring and things like that are just these things that I just remember because I'd seen in the trailer over and over and over again. Because I'm watching other VHS movies, and when I haven't removed the commercials, you're seeing these trailers turn up in commercials and stuff. Because you're too lazy to get up and fast forward with your finger because we don't have
Oh yeah. That's insane. I don't
Yeah,
even get up
this-
and put a DVD in my thing anymore. I'm like, I'll just
You just
I'll
throw it.
Yeah. Ooh. But yeah, I remember like I was going into this remembering it as being like a perfect movie, but after rewatching it, I'm like, it's just the okay outdoors.
yeah.
That's
It's Ian Siskel's review.
It's the fine outdoors.
Yeah.
It did like okay. I mean, like it made money. It made $40 million off a $20 million sort of outlet. So like it doubled its money. And I remember like I think on Rotten Tomatoes, on the Tomatometer, as has been decided by the internet as how it's we pronounced because I did a video and everyone agrees that Tomatometer is by far the best way to talk about the Tomatometer. But it was like it had about 40% from critics, but the audience review was actually pretty good. It was like 75-80%. People were like, no, we like this movie. Leave this movie alone. We know it's not perfect, but we like it. So boo.
But I think you can enjoy this movie at any age too. Like I was saying, when I watched this, I was probably the age of the teenage boy in it, and then I'm sure I watched it again much later, and I still appreciate how good and fun and sweet and wholesome this movie is. But yeah, it definitely has its flaws. It's far from perfect. But
See, same thing because I reckon I'm like you, Ryan. So for me, I really enjoyed the little when I was a kid because I remember it being more of a plot of because the girl was cute.
the romance, yeah.
Yeah, and so I remember
it's
that being
not.
more of the movie. And when I watch it, it's because they just kind of like here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene
Yeah.
at the end. It's like it's irrelevant.
And they make like in those scenes, they make such a huge deal out of it because she's like, it's like my relationships have only lasted like a couple of months because she lives in this fucking stink town that she wants to get out of, and it's always like young teenage boys coming into this town to flirt with her, and that's exactly what happens. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
And then
why would this be any different? Yeah.
And then, I know. And then she's like, I just want you to remember me, and okay. Like I said, I don't remember it going down like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's like another movie invades this movie.
Yeah,
Much like
exactly.
a giant spider. Like for just a moment, it like becomes something and I was enjoying it. I was like, oh, I kind of like this teen romance. And then it would go away.
It easily could
like,
be.
oh.
Yeah.
So like and it, like, kind of like I was saying, so heavily panned by critics, failed to make a profit. But I just told you, it's because it was the home video market.
Yeah.
So it made its money later. Picked up a huge following in the home video market, and it's since become a very popular summer vacation movie. So it's kind of one of those ones that didn't necessarily pop, but maybe it's just like the comfort movie of it all. It's like it doesn't offend anybody. It does. Right. You can watch it with anybody. You can throw it on. It's like it's not 3 hours long. It'll keep the kids quiet. You don't have to worry about a pair of tits turning up in it or something like that. It's just you got just some side boob. That's
bare butt, balls, and back.
But it's like it's still crazy to me that that's Annette Bening's debut. I would have put any money on that not being true.
And I was reading like where they like the small town that they filmed this in California, like John Candy was such an infectious personality, and like everyone in town loved him. He was such a sweet and like great loving guy, and I think Dan Aykroyd as well. But everyone said Annette Bening was difficult, like she was maybe mean to people. I don't know how true that is.
Maybe
but
she was just in character.
in character,
She,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she was a bit of a bitch in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, she's turning in like a real performance in this. She's not like
Yes, she is.
she's not phoning it in at all. She's like bringing her full American Beauty performance.
Well, that's kind of what I mean. Is that's what surprised me, is because, like I said, straight off the bat, she's just hitting fire.
Yeah.
You know, even in just this movie, you know, I say just this movie, but it's, you know, it's not an Oscar-winning movie or anything like this, but she plays that role.
It's
like,
the First Wives Club. So let's be clear. It's not the First Wives Club.
That is a great
It is
so it's interesting. So like little bits of Wisconsin. So like I was saying, it's actually shot in Bass Lake in California. But you see people drinking a lot of Point beer. So Point is an actual beer made in Stevens Point in central Wisconsin, very popular throughout central and northern Wisconsin, where the movie takes place. And you can also see signs for it and stuff like that in the restaurant. So they do actually kind of just lean into the little bit of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And didn't like the lake has the most ridiculous name, doesn't it? I cannot remember.
Potawatomi Ding
Yeah,
Dong.
it was like, it's Lake
Canceled.
Potawatomi Minimac. Potawatomi Minimac. Lake Potawatomi Minimac. Is that a real place? I'm going to look that up right now.
Is that a real word? Is that something a white person is like, yeah, this sounds like something?
It's the same lake in town from.
with.
It's the same lake in town from What About Bob?
Yeah. Yes.
Which is
no, it's
question mark?
doesn't no Lake Potawatomi Minimac doesn't exist.
Boo.
Well,
moving on. I just remember
I
just remember the town from What About Bob had an unrememberable name that we could never pronounce. Right?
It was originally called Big Country, but they changed it because they didn't want. It's, you know, when you read about this sort of shit and you're like going, okay, but they were like, well, 1988 also had the release of Big, so we don't want people to confuse it.
Right.
It's just like, how do they?
And earlier that year they had a movie called Big, so they couldn't go Big Country.
Yeah, it was
I thought that's where you were going with it.
The restaurant they burnt down. Right, so where they do the old 96er, that restaurant burnt down from a gas fire very soon after the movie was done. So if you go there now, they've rebuilt it and it's got a lot of memorabilia.
Yeah.
That you can enjoy.
Like
Chevy
what?
Chase,
Like what would they have from this movie?
it's just steak.
A bear? Like
it's sort of like there's that bar from the movie Midnight Run, where if you go to that bar in real life, all it is just got posters from Midnight Run, and they're like, "Oh, this is memorabilia." It's like
they still have
shot here for a day. Like
they have the corpse of the old dead man there. Like what the lightning guy? Like he's still around and just
you can still kiss the corpse, kids.
Yeah.
Like, oh, all right, well.
We used to go to this steakhouse when I was younger called Chuck's. It was in Connecticut, and they had, when you first walk in, they had this like scarecrow who is Chuck. And I remember when I was younger, I was absolutely fucking terrified of this thing. We used to go there pretty often, and I dreaded it, knowing that when you first walk in, there's that motherfucker sitting in a chair. It was like made of straw. He looked like the Count from Sesame Street. Like it was just this terrifying thing, and I just hated it.
Just
so
to be
much.
clear,
Still, like,
the Count from Sesame Street is terrifying to you.
that's just what he looked. That's just how I remember it. Yeah,
that's why we don't say numbers around Ryan. The moment you're like 13, he's like,
no, that's why I can't watch Severance. The numbers are too scary.
I didn't see this, but there is a post-credit scene with the raccoons. I did not stick around for the post-credit scene.
You get the name of the bear.
That's
Jody.
what I found out. The name of the bear is Jody.
Yeah.
And she's now bald on both ends. But I hear that became more popular in the 90s. So, you know.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Here you go. And actually, there you go. This hits in with what you were saying, Will. But it's one of those instances that the original trailer includes scenes that didn't make it into the movie.
Oh, see, well, there we go.
I guess find the trailer and maybe we can get some clues as to what's been cut out of this movie.
You bought the DVD or the Blu-ray. Maybe it's got the deleted scenes on it.
That's right.
I didn't check, but I'll check later today.
I love it. It's
like
all
updated.
The raccoons do the commentary tracks.
That's what I mean. Like, Will, you've had this thing on Blu-ray for like 10 years or something. It's like finally got a chance to watch.
Like 6 months. I don't know. I do have a bunch of movies though that I have not, that I bought on Blu-ray. Prisoners being one of them. I bought it 3 years ago on Blu-ray. It's on my shelf right now.
Don't watch it
yet.
because what's the? Hang on, I'm gonna do a little quick. Like, where's Prisoners set?
That I haven't watched Upgrade. I asked you guys if I should like buy Upgrade, and you guys said
Yeah,
yes. So I have
buddy.
that here.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
is
Haven't
as
watched
far
that
as
yet.
like surprising out of like nowhere action movies like
That
that
movie's the shit.
banger.
Mhm.
In
Upgrade and The Guest are my double feature.
Oh, The
go-to.
Guest is so good. I do love The Guest.
Okay, shit. Did we do Pennsylvania already?
Yeah, yeah, we did.
Prisoners.
I couldn't tell you what movies we did, but we did Pennsylvania.
Well, that's the state where you spent so much time watching movies indoors and not going outside. So at a summer camp, right? That's what you just.
Yeah, didn't we?
That's
do
right. Oh, so then it would have been your Great White Hot American Summer or whatever, right? No, have we done Pennsylvania? I'm not sure. I swear to God, this is.
I think we have.
I'm not sure.
Wait,
Oh,
yes.
Witness.
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's. Oh, we did Jack Reacher, and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. There's loads of good movies that we actually have to get back to in Pennsylvania. So one of them is going to be Prisoners, but you should watch that movie because it is amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about? So this interest, like The Great Outdoors, is a kind of like we said. It's okay. It's like
It's still a classic, though. It's
yeah.
still up there. Like
You're
It's
not
like-
going to be mad watching it. If any,
No,
you'll just
no.
you'll just enjoy being like watching just John Candy and Dan Aykroyd do their
and if
thing.
you-
It's a
if you-
burger and a beer with some fries. You're sitting in a
Exactly.
Yeah.
restaurant, but it's not the best burger you've ever had. You know, you could have been sitting somewhere with a better view, but it's
not
like,
a 96-ounce burger. Let's be real. It's like it's got all the good bits, but it's got the gristle too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Oh,
There,
Ryan, boom. There you go. It does. You do have to get through the gristle.
All right, now watch this, everybody. Here's our fantastic graphics for a perfect metaphor coming on screen right now. All this music, we spent all this money. Woo, look at that, perfect metaphor.
Quick, hire someone from Bangladesh for $5 to do some fun.
Can I get the thumbs up thing to go?
Hey,
Hey,
there it is. We got
How
it.
did you do that?
There we
Just
go.
hold my thumbs up.
Man, the audio listeners, you guys are being cheated out. You just missed all these incredible graphics.
Do that
thumbs up.
again. Ryan, do a thumbs up. What the?
Hey, there we go.
I want to know
You gotta
how to do
update your
that.
Zoom, baby.
What else do you do? If you flip me off, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay. Oh no!
That's
Now.
Wow, audio listeners, man, the thing that just popped up on
wait,
screen
if
when
I
you
do
did that,
this?
it was horrific.
Oh, what the hell?
Oh, well, oh wow.
I don't know why that does it.
Nobody
If I
say
raise my
anything.
hand-
Nobody say what's on screen so that the audio listeners have to watch the
That was
YouTube
it.
version.
It's just this one.
This is incredible.
It's yeah. Now it's doing a giant eggplant.
Wow. Oh my god. This is Shrek's on screen right now, man. If you're not watching the video, oh geez.
That is so weird. Okay. Oh my god, the world is crazy. All right. Look, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the great outdoors. And we're gonna move on from okay,
to the
we're gonna-
greater outdoors.
We're gonna let's talk about the Incubus. Let's get
Oh,
into
boy.
the Incubus.
all right. Here we go.
All right, so just FYI to everybody watching or listening, slight trigger warning. This movie is about a lot of sexual assault. A lot. It is a horror movie. It leans into the whole thing of what an incubus is. But kind of like we were saying, this movie isn't the Wraith. It's actually a bit more like, okay, all right, it's like it is what it is. It's made how it's made, but it's well made. People are trying, like the guy John Cassavetes is he's quite compelling. I mean, he does do some weird staring. He does do
Yes.
some weird like touching of people's faces a lot. He was just touching that guy Tim's face a lot, and then like
A lot of
the girl-
face slapping. A lot of slapping.
the girl in
yes.
hospital as well. Like she's just been attacked,
Yeah.
and he sort of grabs her by her face. She's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, tough guy, how you
He
doing?"
keeps referring to her as tough guy.
Hey, tough
Yeah.
guy.
And I just want to say that this man is a terrible doctor. Terrible.
Possibly the worst. Yeah.
His bedside manner is troubling.
Yeah, well, I guess he's the only doctor in this small
Yeah.
town.
I
So I
think there's
guess
a
it
line
was-
that 'cause they've been there for a year, right? They were living in this
Yeah.
town for a year. Yeah.
It's it
Him and
kind
his
of
maybe
reminded me-
daughter.
It reminded me of an episode of a show that I used to love watching with Dick Van Dyke called Diagnosis Murder. So
Yeah.
like he was a
Oh, is it him and his son were?
Well, it's just
were
he's a
like-
doctor, but like him and his fellow doctors, then people turn up at the hospital with problems that they've been hurt by, and then they'll go out and just investigate the crimes. And it was Brilliant. I watched
What a
it.
great title. My
It was
diagnosis murder.
Murder.
Great.
It sounds like something like Edgar Wright would have come up with for like the
Yeah.
Lucas Lee
Well,
character.
didn't they have like something on Netflix which was like it was the same sort of concept. It was a bunch of doctors that also were international sort of
Medical
like,
medical police.
medical police.
Yes.
There you go. But yeah, diagnosis murder. This is what this felt like because it was like this sort of like the doctor is just going around town trying to sort of solve this
Yeah.
problem.
Why
It's
is he's at all the crime scenes? It's
Yeah.
crazy.
As is Kerry Keane, who's playing Laura. What a great name, by the way, Laura Kincaid. And she's also new to town. She works for the local newspaper, and she's always got her Nikon. You know it's Nikon because it says so around her sort of shoulder. And she's always at every crime scene, immediately just walks in taking pictures. You always know when she's entered into a scene because the first thing you get is a flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
And then
oh,
like several people just like turn around and stare at her. And then she like lowers the
click,
camera like,
click, click.
oh, did I read that wrong?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is this an awkward time?
But man,
Yeah.
what a total babe.
Yeah.
She was stunning, absolutely stunning,
Absolutely.
like crazy.
She reminded me of like Linda Carter in like
yes,
Wonder Woman.
yes.
She's
very
just
Linda
very
Carter,
striking.
big
woman,
80s hair.
Yeah.
It's like you're amazed she can fit through doors at times. It's you almost feel like she has to
It's
turn
like
That
around.
would have been a
gun
great. That's a
scene.
great
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. She pulls her camera out of her hair. But yeah, she was. All of the characters in this movie are so fascinating and yet somehow completely uninteresting. Like I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so the doctor has got this 18-year-old daughter that, again, at the beginning of the movie, we spend about 10 minutes trying to figure out if this is the 18-year-old that he's fucking because his wife died, or is that his daughter? Because they have a weird relationship. It's a bit too close. She mothers him a bit like too much.
I watched this with a friend of mine, and she made a good point, and we were saying like, is it purposefully troubling, or is it just that it was filmed way back then and it was like all right? Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't grasp like.
Hey, if
was
you
it
were a parent-
intentional?
if you were a parent in the 70s, let us know. Do you just leer at your daughter who just came out of the shower for like minutes at a time and then kiss her full on the mouth later? Was that a normal way to raise kids back in the 70s? Let us know. Let us know in the comments.
It's like, yeah, and it's sort of like just
Clearing my search history.
sitting, quick, do another thumbs up. Like just they're sitting on the bed together, the face touching. She had hilariously hairy eyebrows.
Yeah, I was like, that girl needs to be microbladed for sure.
You had kind of Gandalf eyebrows.
But we're glazing over. We're skipping over. So the movie opens with the couple at the
the guy and the
quarry,
bitch,
right? Yeah. I think that's her name is bitch.
Yeah, that's why I said, is she in the credits as bitch?
No, she's in the credits as tough guy. But yeah, they're having this thing, and then I think does it cut back to Tim having these like sweltering nightmares?
Yes. So there's this guy, Tim.
Yeah.
He sort of has these nightmares. And it sort of flashes back, and it goes back to a time where someone is like almost on a rack. It's a woman she's screaming. There's hooded people around, and then
so pretty normal so far.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, I guess we don't know it at the time, but as the movie continues, is that he has these dreams, and he sort of dreams about these people, and these people are the ones in this situation, and they end up being murdered, raped and murdered, in many cases. And it's like, with this first case, I love how it's like, so the guy that's just a dick comes back. She's been lured into a place, into this sort of like broken down shack. Yeah. It's night. You're barely wearing any clothes, and you go investigate the noise in the broken down shack. Come on, like rule number one. But I love how he was immediately just going to leave her. He comes out. He goes, "Are you here? Are you messing with me?"
You bitch.
He's like, he's about to leave, and then fortunately he gets killed with a nail in his head because he gets
he gets nailed.
Which
is pretty pretty graphic shot. Like I think there's maybe only like one super violent scene in this later on, but like a lot of the things happen off. But even like you don't really see anything happen. It's just like facial reactions. A
lot of the aftermath is what you see.
No, it's the shotgun guy in the cabin who fucking shoots his own foot off.
Oh,
that was
They get
rad.
shoveled. Yeah, but like that, like that's just like
was.
you really don't see a lot in this. Much like Jaws, a lot of it is implied. But yeah, he gets the fucking board with the nail in his head, and then then you get the doctor investigating this crime.
So she survives. So that's the thing. She's the only person that survives, and it kind of, which is weird. Why does she survive and all the other ones don't? But it's sort of like, so she's slightly catatonic. So part of the investigation is going through, but this is the part where it just gets strange. So this is based off a book, by the way.
Oh, you weren't kidding.
No, it is genuinely.
Oh, this is it's based off The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, right? Like, this is
but it's like, is
based off Little Women.
They get into the investigation. The doctor is investigating. So, like I said, it's a small town, and you've got this sheriff. So they're kind of overwhelmed. So you're getting all of these women start getting assaulted and murdered. And there can't be that many people in the town. And then you've got the newspaper. Kincaid is writing all about this. And
but it's not until it happens like a third time that they're like, oh, maybe we should
maybe
let everyone know something's going on here.
Is this bad?
Right.
I think maybe this
but
is
I love
bad.
it. He finds out his daughter is dating this guy, Tim, and which of course he doesn't approve of. And he's like, I don't like people knowing. He's like, I don't care about anyone in this town, or I don't like knowing about people in this town. I'm like, dude, you're the fucking doctor of this town.
You need to know.
You're supposed to know. Yeah,
right.
He's such a dick. Like, and then he gets the phone call, and it's literally like, oh my god. And I forget what he says to his daughter. And he's like, I gotta go. Make sure you stay here. He kisses her like right on the mouth.
Troublingly on the mouth.
Yeah.
To investigate the sexual assault, and has maybe one of the greatest line deliveries I've ever heard in my life. And it's he goes, it was a dry
intercourse.
It was a dry intercourse.
And he holds his fist up.
Oh no.
And you're just going, where is this going? Where is this going? Because he's saying because the first thing is like we found absolutely no sperm. And that is the first of 100 instances of people saying the word sperm. It would have been better if it was semen. They said semen once. They said sperm 100 times.
So many times.
And so we ended up. So the first assault is again, hold fist up, dry intercourse.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. And this poor woman has, I think there's ruptured uterus and everything. So it's everyone's like, how many guys were there? And it gets strange. But then as the attacks continue, the next attack, and it again, because they can't stop talking about it, they get into like there's the sheriff and the doctor, and it's like there was a lot of sperm. There's I mean, there was an incredible amount.
He goes,
no, seriously, and they just really get into like, let's talk about how much there was.
They have now they have like a special team come in because this keeps happening, and he's telling them about these assaults, and he looks at them, he goes, sperm, he goes, an incredible amount.
just incredible. Like
how much are you picturing right now?
Hold
10
on,
times more than
let me
that.
get my buckets.
It's just, and I was watching the movie going, what the fuck are you?
This movie brought to you by Big Sperm.
Yes. And then we get to the bit where he analyzes it, and he's like, it looks like blood, and he looks, it's another, oh my god, it's red sperm. It's red sperm, and it's aggressive and fast moving red sperm, and like
sure.
No one's gonna believe me. I'm like, you're probably fucking right there.
Yeah.
And I was watching it this morning, like I had to, like I was getting ready to get breakfast, and it was like that scene, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna eat. Not only not eat for the rest of the day. No
cream in your coffee this morning?
Yeah. Probably, yeah. Just, yeah. So the long and short of it is I'm not only am I not eating the rest of the day, I'm never going to eat again. So I'm going to lose a lot of weight. So look forward to that, guys.
Oh man. Ugh. And then, so
I think we're also coming back like every time.
So now Tim
much like the sperm demon. Yeah. Tim just keeps coming.
Tim is living with who I thought was like his
everyone thinks so.
elderly mother, right?
Agatha,
right? Who's because they live in the town of Galen, right?
Yes, and so she's Agatha Galen, and she works in the library and museum
/ torture room
dungeon.
Fucking weird.
Yeah, so it's a library, but in the middle is a museum of torture. So while you're sitting there reading your books, you're surrounded by all of this like hooded people.
I wasn't sure if that was just like some specific exhibit, because they had the dolls set up in the cloaks like already, like
Right.
But that's like
it-
Tim's, you know,
yeah, his dream
his
exactly. But
flashbacks
what
kind
the
of thing.
fuck?
Yeah.
And
So
Forwards?
and
just
so it's
imagine
the
you're
town
going.
of Galen.
Yeah.
It's and it's never specified, but depending on where you look on the internet, it's Galen, Wisconsin. There's, you know, but like it could just be Galen anywhere, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And it's like it's sort of like they've got a lot of family history there, because remember that bit later she opens up the Galen
Yeah.
exhibit where there's all those cobwebs, so no one ever goes
Where
there.
she goes to grab the Incubus knife.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just a knife like this with its dick as the blade.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
Which is
Yeah.
pretty rad.
Yeah. That's some mall ninja shit. I love that.
Yeah.
Get me one of those. Just like it's on my desk as my letter opener.
But it was yeah, it just keeps, so as the movie goes, it does, I know you said Jaws, but it plays the Jaws card.
Yeah. You really don't know who
And theme.
done it, because you never
plays
see
the
like,
Jaws theme too.
like the assaults, like you don't see really anyone. So well, I think when you first meet like the father, the doctor, you're like, oh, it's definitely this guy, right? But as the movie progresses, you're like, I don't think it is. I mean, he doesn't seem to have a lot of semen. But you think also like, oh shit, is Tim, because he's having these dreams? Is it his elderly grandmother?
Right,
or
and it's
whatever?
good.
Like you
It
don't
does
know.
it does play the like the whodunit well. And you never get to see the monster because it's always done from POV. And it's right around, like I said, it was the time when the scene that you talk about, Ryan, where it's that farmhouse, you've got the sister in a wheelchair, you've got the cute blonde sister who just, of course, has to get naked and get in the shower.
So soapy.
Yeah,
So-
so. And then you've got the dad. And
The
so
dad
yeah,
who's also the coroner. Like he's
shit,
his medical investigator.
oh my god.
Yeah.
What? I forget.
He has to there's a throwaway line to that later. Like the first like actual murder, the guy doing the autopsy, that's the father of the girl in the wheelchair and the
No
blonde
shit.
girl.
Oh,
That totally went
didn't
over
put
my
that
head.
together.
Yeah.
Because he lives out on a sort of a farm like the one
Yeah,
from
it's-
the Crazies, that Iowa movie that we did.
Yeah.
But this part was where he goes outside, he kind
Mm.
of gets like jumped, he shoots his own foot off. It was really impressive. Like, so the dog dies, the dog
You get
gets
the dog
forked.
pitchforked. Oof.
Yeah, he gets forked, then he gets pitched out the building.
Yeah, that was great.
And then it's kind of, because the weird thing is that these attacks, again, we're unclear about how the Incubus works, because these attacks happen so quickly, they happen with people around. Like the one in the
And
house.
in broad daylight.
Yeah, the sister is just in the other room, but in the time it takes for her to wheel over to the bathroom, you know, her sister's been murdered and attacked.
Yeah.
But you have that great shot where they've mounted the camera under the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so the
That was really
wheelchair
cool.
comes to the door, and you see under the door, you can see the body.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
was
like,
cool.
and then the blood running.
second-
And I went, this movie's actually good, even though
The second I saw the
Yeah.
girl in the wheelchair, I went, "Oh no!" Because
Yes.
again, thinking Texas
Right.
Chainsaw, I'm like, if you have any person with a disability in a horror film, you know it ain't gonna be good. Like-
she was the last one, but she also doesn't make it. So it's and it happens. So I mean, I think the most sort of like violent one was the movie theater one.
Oh
Which
yeah,
has also
I
got
just want
that-
to say,
Oh,
there's a
what
lot of-
was that scene? Like that was
there's a lot of
bizarre.
doors falling on people too in this movie. But yeah, so Tim is now distraught. He can't sleep because if he sleeps, he dreams, and if he dreams, bad things happen. Right. So he's running down the street. He bumps into the
The
reporter.
daughter. Oh yes, the reporter.
Right. And he seemingly goes inside of a movie theater, which is showing a full-on live concert, which is
Yeah. So
crazy.
I was
to me.
unclear. I think they were watching. It's 'cause that's like some band. That's a real band, some British band, I believe, that turned up. But I think they're kind of watching a movie that is also like a musical performance, if you know what I mean. So I don't think they were performing live. They're watching a movie, some weird like
It seemed like they were
experimental
watching it
movie
live.
that's also
Yeah.
a music video at the same
Yeah.
time in a pre-music video world. That's
Yeah,
my theory.
something like I didn't quite understand. What
But
was
then it
happening
just,
in that
it
scene.
pans over to the audience, and it's like a girl and a guy, and she's like, I gotta go take a shit. So
Yeah,
she-
it's like it's right at the beginning of the movie. She's got to go to the bathroom. So it's the British band Samson, and the vocalist, the guy that's singing, some of you may have recognized as future Iron Maiden vocalist Bruce Dickinson. So
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Fuck.
Future rock star Bruce Dickinson right there. But yeah, so this girl.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah, no, does that do anything with your AI? Does there like a guitar
Oh
happen?
shit.
But yeah, she goes downstairs to the grimiest women's bathroom
Oh,
I've
yeah.
ever seen.
I was
mean-
too distracted trying to read everything that was written.
That's what I
on
was
the
doing.
walls.
I was
Same,
reading all the
yes.
graffiti. She goes like the one on the door to the right says, "Not yet. I'm still playing." So I guess like
Just weird. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
you're still having a wank.
I still, and then the camera.
one of it
'cause-
said no thanks. It was very strange.
Yeah, the camera always is in these scenes. It's like from the first person POV, which is
Of the
really,
Incubus.
which is cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's cool technique.
Which is
And
very
then,
much like John Carpenter in like Halloween. He was actually
Right,
considered to
right.
direct this movie as well, by the way.
Oh shit. Oh man, that would have been fucking rad.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
David Cronenberg. Sorry, David Cronenberg. But anyway.
Ooh, even better.
Wow,
God.
that's
Oof.
well.
You would have
that's a
seen
missed
full
opportunity.
penetration that one.
But yeah, it's the
And
bit
it would
where
have been a car, and
Yeah.
you know,
But you're right. Is the POV kind of goes in and then it sort of like
It peers over, and I was thinking of like, because that scene also happens in
scary movie.
yeah, but it was Detroit Rock City when then they fall over the
Oh.
thing, or to a lesser extent Harold and Kumar where they're playing battleships. Anyway, I was like, all I could think of was like, oh, this is gonna be hilarious, and it was not. It
No.
was
no,
fucking horrifying.
But the thing is, right? So interesting. So there's some excellent camera moves. So like it followed her all the way down the stairs and sort of like into the bathroom. There's many sort of like shots where the camera like comes in and goes all the way into the scene. Some great camera moves.
Very voyeuristic, yeah.
But this one, that's what I mean. This is what it doesn't quite like. I don't understand because we see she walks down. There are people in the foyer. There are people buying tickets, and she just goes past those 6 people and into the bathroom that's right there.
Mhm.
And then an incubus somehow comes in, attacks her. There's lots of screaming. There's lots of blood. There's lots of everything. But I'm like, there's 4 people right there. You know, so it's like these attacks seem to happen in the blink of an eye, and then the incubus is gone. But these people are messed up. They're murdered. They're bloody. It's horrible. It's like and that was the one where you got the bit where she's kind of holding on to the door.
You
Yeah,
see the
yikes.
hands that grab her feet and like pull her.
Oh, and they were scary. That's right. That was
Yeah.
the first time we'd seen anything about the incubus, and it was almost like, was that a werewolf? You know?
Yeah, you don't.
kind of
Yeah, because this whole
furry
time, even
arms.
there's the scene in the library before, which we the library, Jesus, where the librarian she just like turns a corner, and the next thing you know, she like shoots through the shelf,
Through the shelf.
clothes ripped off. You're like, what the hell just happened? It's crazy.
yeah,
She wasn't even that hot.
canceled.
Yeah, that's it's like, oh, not even my type, right? That's the line.
But the way that shit is shot, like you just don't see anything. It's just cuts of like things being thrown or she's being thrown. You don't see anyone actually attacking her. So you're still left to like wonder who is doing this? Who be Incubin?
Yeah, and it is, and that's the thing is like I was expecting it plays it pretty well. Like I said, it's the horror element is done well. That again, like it's just distracting amounts of conversation about sperm.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then-
Yeah,
and it's not going to surprise you when I say this, but apparently John Cassavetes rewrote 80% of his dialogue. He's like, you know
yeah,
what
he
we need?
did.
Sperm.
yeah.
He had a bet with someone. I bet I can get the word sperm into this movie 67 times. 'Cause-
Once you get into like the actual metaphysical shit of it, like the reading of the Necronomicon and all like the all the lore, that's when I was like, I don't care about this. Like this is
Yeah.
I kind of like the last 30 minutes of it. I was like, yeah, all right, sure.
But-
The ancient book. Well, I mean, like just in terms of like the plot, because I knew where it was gonna go.
Well, did you? Did you know where it was going to go in the last 10 minutes?
When that lady brings up a nice can of Coca-Cola because her boyfriend's daughter is now sleepy, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Incubus.
Well, that's the thing. It's
Incubitch.
Oh, that would have been such a better title. for
Incubus
this
would
movie.
have been a great title. God damn it, that's much better. So it's as it's sort of going on that yes, the Doctor John Cassavetes character starts kind of like flirting with and kind of like getting with Kincaid, Kerry Keene's character, who also there was the jarring part where she's like looking at photos of his wife, who's super gorgeous as well, and she just goes, "She dead?" You know. And he's like, "Yep, she's dead."
But no, she's in the room next door. Yeah, what do you mean?
But there's a line too, like she's when they're in the car together, like when he first like finally opens up to her because they have this tenuous relationship because he's investigate. He's investigating these murders, and she's reporting on them. And he's like, "Hey, you want to get a drink?" And they go to the bar, and she's like, "I know about everyone in this town, even you." So wouldn't she fucking know that? Like his wife.
Yeah.
Right.
See, this is stuff where I mean, like, stuff must have been cut out because there's just too much that doesn't track and too much that just feels like we don't have enough clarification on.
Yeah, no, because it's the last 10 minutes. It happens very quickly. So John Cassavetes decides he's going to take Tim, the kid that's having these dreams. Every time he dreams, somebody dies. And he's like, I'm going to induce a dream. And he tells the sheriff, someone's going to get raped tonight. And I'm like, this plan is fucking terrible. What are you doing? You're just like, no, we're going to use all the women in this town as bait. Someone's going to get attacked, but we're going to figure out how this works.
And the cop's like, "No, man, I like my job too much because the old lady, Mrs. Galen, whatever, she
runs the town.
I brought you into this world, and I can take your job away from this town."
Yeah, it was a weird sort of threat.
What does that mean? That was so weird.
Yeah.
It was strange.
Yeah.
But like, but no,
he just leaves. He's like, "I'm out."
Because what this movie has is something that has been referenced on this podcast many times by Will and by Ryan, talking about the original ending of the movie Dodgeball, where the original ending of Dodgeball is they lose, cuts to credits, the end. Now, this movie suddenly takes a turn. In the last 10 minutes, we kind of find out, and again, I can't even remember because it's happening so fast, where we're getting this information that we find out that Agatha has adopted Tim because Tim's mum was a witch and she was tortured. And so when he's having these visions, it's a throwback vision to his mother being tortured, but she was also raped by the Christians who were killing her. But it comes out that she died, she adopted him, but maybe he had a sibling. Turns out he did have a sibling. He had a sister. The sister is Kincaid. She is the Incubus. And so in the last 5 minutes of the movie, Tim has a dream. It's his daughter. He goes upstairs, and the movie ends with him hugging the Incubus lady, looking over her shoulder and seeing the brutally raped and murdered body of his daughter. We get maybe 2 or 3 shots, just so we know, of blood or whatever it is pumping out of her. And then we go back to that shot of the eye credits. And I'm like, what just happened?
What more do you need to know?
Baby. Yeah. Well, he like before that, like the daughter and the reporter are upstairs in the room together. The door like bursts open and it's Tim. And he like rushes them, and then the father stabs him with the Incubus knife, right?
Oh yeah, that's what he's in it. So it's more like Tim had the knife, Dad tackles him, and he accidentally stabs himself.
Okay.
So yeah, we kill the brother, hug the now sister, and realize that she's just raped his daughter.
Yeah, the plot dump, like in the last 2 minutes of this movie, is wild. But you do get that flashback where you actually get to see the Incubus, and it's pretty fucking hilarious.
The Incubus, if you read comic books like I do, the Incubus is the Jackal from Spider-Man. It is literally the exact same look. Right. Everybody should go and look up this. This
I was getting like Chupacabra vibes, like just
the Jackal. It's literally just the Jackal. Which is so I was just watching it. I'm like, that's
okay. Yep. Yeah. Will's right.
It's just the Jackal. That's all it is.
I was thinking like Wish.com, Wish.com Killer Croc from Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
It's very
bizarre.
Swamp
it was
Thing
silly.
adjacent.
Yeah. And for the amount of like effects they put on like that creature, like you only see that like briefly once.
7 seconds.
And you see the blur like of the Incubus monster turning into the reporter lady, and you're like, oh, that's how I know they're the same.
This movie, so yeah, I mean, it just
fucking ends.
Nothing. It just ends. Nothing's wrapped up. You don't know. I mean, is he gonna go? Oh well, I guess I'll just sleep with the Incubus now. I mean,
she's pretty hot.
Like, it's that's the thing. It's such a bizarre ending.
But a progressive ending, a movie that says women can be incubuses too.
Right.
So,
yeah.
There you go. It's equality.
Really. Yep.
Instead
let's not
of
forget
being a succubus.
Right. Now, what's the difference there?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Exactly that. An incubus is a male sort of like demon that essentially just sucks the life force and attacks women. And the opposite, so a succubus is a woman demon that sort of just controls a man, sucks the life out of them, just it's the
Sounds
the
like my
opposite version.
ex-wife, huh? You know.
I shouldn't have said that.
It is it's so this movie's. I would tell people though. I would say watch it. I would say watch it.
It's pretty fucking hilarious. Like
it's strange and it's bizarre,
Yeah.
but it's shot well. It is kind of
Yeah.
creepy. It doesn't fundamentally make sense. I said to you guys, it felt very adjacent to Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Yes.
Which is
just
a
watch
very,
that. Just
very,
watch that instead.
very niche,
Actually, yes.
very British thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only real nerds outside of the UK, but I've got two of them on this podcast.
Yeah,
But
it's one of my
like
favorite shows.
Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. This is what that felt like. It felt shot like it. It's almost like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is kind of like inspired by this kind of movie.
Oh yeah. Once you
Yeah.
said that, I was like, oh, I guess I'm watching that again.
Yeah. This feels like one of Garth Marenghi's books. This feels
Yes.
like not quite a Stephen King book, like not that good.
Yeah.
You know,
Somewhere between Stephen King and Sutter Kane is Garth Marenghi.
Yeah.
Yes, it's this. So this feels like something like at the start of a Garth Marenghi episode, he's like reading the Incubus, you know, like
Yeah. Semen.
and then
Semen.
the Incubus
Semen.
was
and
a
bits of-
woman.
and bits of blood.
Yeah.
Incredible
Incubus.
amounts of sperm.
Yeah.
Okay, this is great because it's fun if you get into like the trivia bits of movies and stuff. Like sometimes there's lots, sometimes there's not, and sometimes it's great. It's like one of the interesting facts. Again, we probably know this, but shot without storyboards.
Yeah.
No.
That is actually pretty impressive considering how well this movie is filmed.
Mhm.
Yes, it is. That's the thing. It is.
Yeah. Like it's a good looking movie. It's definitely like very dark, very serious subject matter, but there's something so like very schlocky about it. But not schlocky in the way like the giant spider is. Like that definitely feels no offense, Will.
Not taken because we'll get into that.
It's schlocky, but it's not the Wraith schlocky.
Right.
It's like
It's not
never-
charming, that's for sure.
It never
No.
commits to the schlock. It's horror. It feels Twilight Zone-y. It feels like In the Mouth of Madness. It feels like it's so adjacent, like we've been saying, all these different things. But it's never its own thing, I guess,
No, yeah.
is the way you
Right
sort of
down-
end up.
Right down to like the score is literally just the Jaws theme and the Friday the 13th incidental music
Yeah.
just mashed together, and that's all
Mhm.
it is.
Whereas with the Great Spider Invasion or whatever it is like they had like the 5 notes. It was the same notes that they'd play in Goldfinger. Dun, 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 but
It was
just
the spider actually playing a piano. Is that-
Oh shit.
yeah.
So it was 8 notes then.
Yes.
Spider joke. Would I recommend this movie? Yeah, it's kind of a fun watch if you can get past all the semen. just
Yeah. You can wade
just-
through all the semen.
just glaze past that, and I think you'll have a fun time. But yeah, this is what a wild way to end this movie. Could you imagine being being one of the 3 people to see this in the theater, and then just ending like that? And you're like, oh man, what do I do with my life now?
Yeah. How can a movie ever top this?
It's so weird.
I do want to make mention though that end scene where he goes and tackles Tim. He tackles Tim by ramming his head right into Tim's ass, and
Yeah,
that's how he takes him down. I had to rewind it because I was laughing so hard. I was like, this is how he takes Tim. This guy could be an incubus.
It's like
Ah!
when Sweet D runs out of the shoe store and bashes her head into the car
Yeah.
door. Kind of like that. Yeah, but that was him doing his own stunts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and writing his own script. Anything else? So Will, would you say people should watch this movie?
Not if you're getting ready to eat breakfast. Don't do that. God. Just I watched the whole movie like, I don't feel good. Yeah, I guess it's worth checking out. I watched it on Tubi. And that was fine. Yeah, if you're not bothered by a movie that is 90% sexual assault violence, then hey, then it's the movie for you.
Yeah, it's not a comedy, but it's also just
Yeah.
weird. But in a
Yeah,
way-
it's bizarre.
You
original
could
way.
see a better movie like
Yeah.
within it. Like I said, there's definitely stuff that's cut out that maybe that made the movie better, but they were like, we need to get this movie in and out of theaters.
Yeah. There were 6 more
cut
sexual
off.
assaults.
It's just
Yeah,
that's the
that
thing.
really added to the story.
It's yeah, exactly. It's just that it was far too much focus on the literal nature of the scene. It's just
Yeah.
like find other things to investigate, guys. You know, like it's just make it a procedural, but it's like, you know, let's
But
have
it's
a
also
quick-
not like a typical slasher movie of its time. So I think that maybe that's why people were like, I don't like this. Like I need like an
Yeah.
actual shape that I can see that's killing. Like I just none of this makes any sense. It's too smart for its own good.
That's the thing that's never been said about this movie in the history of ever. Um,
Yeah.
But there is one more movie. Like Wisconsin was such a weird week. I genuinely like. I was, especially because I did a double feature. I did a double feature yesterday because I was behind. I've had a
You
very
watched
busy week.
you watched the Incubus twice.
I watched Incubus and then The Giant Spider Invasion, which,
Mm.
like all truly great movies on this podcast, is available for free on YouTube. And the crazy thing about it, it's only had like sort of like 300 views. Okay. Whereas like
Well,
Stone Cold
yes.
was on YouTube, was it not? And it's got a lot of views.
That's
The
like
Raid
2 million or something.
was
Yeah.
on YouTube as well. But yeah, The Giant Spider Invasion from 1975, as Will was saying earlier, is a movie that he'd seen many times on Mystery Science Theater 3000 before actually watching the movie. And it is perfect.
This was a fun watch.
Yeah.
This was like a sequel to Them! Exclamation
Yeah.
mark. Which we did
Yeah,
for New
yeah.
Mexico, I believe.
If you liked Them but hated the fact that there wasn't enough hillbilly incest, you are gonna love this movie.
Yeah. If you wanted them with more grime, more incest,
Yeah.
more hillbillies.
Roger Corman's Them.
Yes.
God,
This
fantastic.
movie was crazy. It was, I think it was you, Ryan, that said like, you know, you were watching it and it was like acting and set design and just general production levels of a porn movie from the same time.
And the dialogue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the dialogue.
And the actors.
And it
And the
was,
spiders.
I mean, it opens with some just truly, truly terrible special effects of this, I don't know, a meteorite
It's the
heading
opening
to-
of Predator.
Yeah,
It's just-
yes. It is, and The Thing almost as well. You
Yeah.
know? But yeah, this meteor with incredible effects, level of Star Wars that came out just a couple of years later.
I thought they were images from the Hubble. That's how amazing I thought they were.
So it comes down and hits the planet, and I was describing to my missus, and I said essentially, this meteorite lands in the backyard of the couple from the beginning of Men in Black. So
Yes.
the Men in Black,
Yes.
the Vincent D'Onofrio and his wife. It's the same house with the same truck with the same shot. Incredible
Oh, yeah,
special
that's
effects
true.
of
Yeah.
the whole
And
background.
you get
lights
this
up.
bizarre montage when that happens. Like it's pitch black there, but it cuts to different times of day. Like there's a guy on a motorcycle and it's broad fucking
Yep.
daylight. And then there's the woman scientist who's just like got binoculars looking up at the thing.
And then there's a
broad daylight.
B-52, and
Sure,
then there's
yeah.
shots of NORAD and stuff, and that actually looked like it looked like they got sort of documentary footage
It
from the
definitely-
military
Absolutely is.
of
yeah.
actual people in NORAD and an actual B-52, and then you've got a sort of cockpit. They don't show any crashes because that would have cost too much. This thing had a budget of $300,000. But I was actually impressed. I'm like, oh my god, they've added some production value. But yeah, it was a very confusing thing because so much of this movie is confounding.
I
Because
wish you would have seen like the stock footage watermark and all that would have made it so much more better.
property of U.S. military.
Yeah.
But essentially is that we've got many different sort of characters, but the main, well, not the main characters, but you've got Robert Easton and Leslie Parrish as the Kesters. So Robert Easton is a hillbilly that doesn't do his farm very well. At nights goes off and spends his nights with a hooker. His Mrs. Ev is a full-blown, hilariously horny alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's
it's
just
awesome.
her entire character thing is alcoholism. And it only is revealed 80 minutes into this 80-minute movie. She's like, you know, oh, you've been like this since the baby died. Wait, what? Tragic backstory? So their child died? Okay, that would have been some interesting information to give us.
Was it spider related?
Also, living with them is her younger sister?
Sister, yeah, I think
right?
so.
Question mark? Yeah.
Who's
And, like,
dating like a guy?
Some
Doesn't
guy.
matter.
Is it
Doesn't matter.
Dave
Doesn't matter.
or whatever?
Doesn't matter.
But like, yeah, he's and it's like the introduction is almost along the lines of that the drunk sister meets the boyfriend and is like, if I was a few years younger, I'd fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much.
As her sister comes out and it's like, hey, have fun. Just talking about how much I want to bone your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Cracks beer.
Not again. I mean, yeah, it's like, God, the alcoholism in this was hilarious.
Oh, it's
There's a shot.
every scene.
It's she's
drinking.
It's like this house is just full of random booze. It's not like she'll crack a beer. Like it cuts to the next morning, she just cracks open a fucking beer, and then the next scene, it's her pouring a bottle of vodka with some tomato juice into the blender, which is crazy. And then she's got a bottle of bourbon like on their nightstand. This woman gets after it, and I love her.
Wait, she even had that scene in Tears where she's calling that person going, I don't have a drop of booze in the house. You've got to bring it in. And it's just one of those things that's sort of like accepted by the whole town. You've got the stupid, sexy sheriff who never buttons his shit up. So he's like this older sheriff, but it's always open to like down here.
Hell yeah, it is.
Like sexy sheriff. He's just
Alan Hale could not be bothered to get fully dressed and to ignore the camera. He's just looking down the barrel of the camera, shirt open, just slutting it up like as only the skipper can.
God, he's great.
He's always throwing out one-liners, and it's funny because no one's really laughing at them, which is great. No. But he's even being unhelpful cop on the phone, and sort of like, because people are like, you know, it's so great. My car doesn't work. Well, go to the mechanic, and it's like, my phone doesn't work. Okay, we'll get that fixed. He goes, what do you want me to do? I'm a cop.
Yeah.
And she hangs up, and he puts the phone down and looks right down the camera and goes, I wonder why she did that. And I'm like, did he just
does like the Jim Halpert like smirk like
Yeah. It's like, did we just break the fourth wall?
I had to double take, and I'm like, I hope this happens throughout this movie.
Me too.
And I was upset that it didn't.
It
and
did.
Also, am I misremembering? Is he the only cop in this town?
He's the only
According to this movie, I think so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, unless there is another one that looks like him with a mustache, because later on, as he's sort of like engaging in battle and dies, whoever is playing him is not him and has a pretty obvious mustache that has suddenly grown on his face.
We ran out of our Alan Hale budget.
Am I thinking of this movie or the Incubus, where the mayor of the town is the bald guy with the glasses and the mustache who is Morty from Meatballs, the camp director? Am I misremembering that? I think that was the Incubus.
I'm even more confused. And this movie feels like we got enough money for one take, and guys, just make it up. Just make it up.
That's exactly
have a conversation about things. And like one of my favorites bit of like is that we get Alan Hale, the sexy sheriff, turns up to get his breakfast with the guy that works behind the bar, and one of the sort of the long running jokes is it's played by Christiane Schmidtme, who was a German actress, fashion model, nude model, and memoirist. And in this movie, she is the waitress and hooker of the town.
Right.
And so the introduction to her is he comes in, he goes, hey, you don't look so great. Were you up all night getting fucked? And I'm paraphrasing here. And she goes, yep, I was getting fucked by a logger. It was like, and
all right.
Like,
see you later. Yeah.
Whores.
Yeah. God, I mean, again, a better movie if he would have just turned to the camera and had like little one-liners directly at the audience. Break that fourth wall. Like make this, like really lean into it.
She's like a troubling amount of sperm.
Incredible amount.
I hung out with an Incubus last night. Yeah.
But this movie gets going and gets weird so quick. Because
are you talking about the whole diamond heist thing?
Yes.
Diamond harvest.
God. So it turns out, so they go like.
Oh man! Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm having flashbacks to this movie.
Yeah, it's just like he's like, I'm not going to go and investigate that massive explosion tonight. That's a problem for tomorrow. So they sleep on it. They go investigating the next day. They find initially 9, then it was like 15 murdered cows.
Yeah.
And his plan is, what a dick.
He's a capitalist. No,
I'm just going to butcher this, and sell it to the guy in town. She says, what if it's sick or something? He goes, it's not my problem. That's his problem.
Yeah.
Pure capitalism.
This guy gets it.
But they come across where the impact zone, and there's these sort of like small round things that are definitely not eggs. But once they crack open, I love that he's trying to crack it open. It falls off the table and they don't notice the fucking tarantula come out of it. But they are distracted by the fact that they are also filled with diamonds. So, and I love the fact that they're getting all these diamonds, and so drunk Mrs. is like, oh my God, we're going to be rich. And just like, you know,
oh my God,
so annoying farm prostitute shagger is like, what do you mean we?
This is my farm, you dumb bitch.
It's such a dick.
But in order to capitalize on the sheer wealth that he's about to come into, he has to go to the town's local geologist slash
store
rock
owner
guy. Yeah,
that is his cousin.
Sure.
And while he's there, his cousin is like, that young sister of your drunk wife sure is looking real mature and sexy. Maybe I should come by and have sex with her. And he's
like, I know, I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Casual nature, like, I think. And then they had the weirdest scene when he does turn up. I know I'm jumping ahead, but she's inexplicably come out of the shower. She's inexplicably unbothered by the fact that he's seeing her topless. And then they have the weirdest scene of, well, we're not cousins, but like maybe we could be kissing cousins. And it's like almost like the idea of it being incestuous is almost a turn on to them. And like Ryan's face now is exactly the face that everyone is making during this scene.
Yep.
What is happening?
So hot. No, but then you get the scene before with Dutch when it's just him and his wife's sister, where they have this like weird dialogue, and then it ends with him threatening to spank her, and then he like comically chases her around the table, and the scene just ends. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
So Wisconsin, you've got some explaining to do.
Yeah.
Like,
but what I do like is, you know, this thing's been caught. It's been a little mysterious. So NASA sends one person, and they've always got the joke of, you're from Nassau? Like, no, NASA. Like,
then he goes, National Air and Space. Like, let's reads out the entire acronym.
You're from Bahamas?
Like, the one, yeah.
But you've got the, like I said, we've established some characters. One is the guy that crashed a bike inexplicably, that also blew up inexplicably, and that guy ends up dying. And the farmer puts him in a shallow grave and covers him with some leaves because he doesn't want to get involved in that. But we've also been introduced to the astronomer, this played by Barbara Hale, who's giving this speech early. She's doing very well. She knows she's showing us that she's very smart. But the combination of this NASA
woman scientist
and this female scientist, they get together and they do a little bit of investigation, and they just, and they go, you know what this is? Yeah. This is a gravitational field, and what this is a miniature black hole, and this black hole is now on our planet because there are black holes everywhere, and it's creating a gravitational shift that is connecting us with a parallel dimension, and it's now a doorway for spiders to come through, and they're both like, yep, clearly. Yeah. And as a viewer, you're like going,
yeah, sure, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
But as Christopher Nolan, you're like,
I know. Has he seen this movie yet? This is gonna blow his mind.
Incesteller. That's what it's called.
That's what
Somebody
was missing from Interstellar.
Yeah.
Oh,
God damn it. I'm scared to even search. That might already be a thing. Okay.
There's the t-shirt, and that's the promo. Subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Incest Stella, that's all I'm ever going to think of it now. Because that's exactly how I would describe this movie. It is a really low budget Christopher Nolan.
It has incest and it's stellar.
Yeah.
No, the whole wormhole, again, I mentally tuned this out halfway through because I was like, where are the goddamn spiders? Right. But you get sprinkling throughout, there's just cobwebs, whenever someone walks through a doorway, there's they're
like, oh,
and then people start stamping on small ones. There's suddenly just little spiders everywhere. They're flicking them off tables and stuff. Yeah. But you never see any of them. It's all just sort of implied. And then you've got more and more tarantulas start.
Just tarantulas,
And then suddenly it just it's not even suddenly we've got one massive medium-sized one, and then you've got this really. I'm gonna give credit to this movie. Gigantic. absolutely gigantic. Now, apparently, it's mounted on a Volkswagen Beetle or something like that.
No.
And it's got like legs, but they do these great long shots. They do these like crowds running away. They always use things to block it, so you can never quite see the car.
Oh yeah, when they're at like the fair, right?
Yeah.
You see that like sea of people,
And
it's
it's
almost
just
like they're just
going-
carrying it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just going up and down like this.
that's just great. It worked for
It's-
me. I thought it was.
It looks
fine.
like a parade float. Like I
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
cracking up.
It
That's all it
does.
is. It's just as
Well,
it
the-
drives, all the legs. Are
Well,
just,
when Ev the drunk dies, it's great. They just drop like a toy on her.
Yeah.
And just make-
Yes.
It looks like it weighs about 10
But we
pounds,
we
if
always say, on this podcast that practical effects are way better, and this is an instance where we were wrong.
Yeah.
So wrong.
No, I disagree. I mean,
I'm
yeah,
just
some of
kidding.
them
It's great.
suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they've got real spiders. They got real tarantulas around the place and stuff. And once it starts just like winding up and becoming just ridiculous, is when we get like I said, the giant spider. Now it's just wandering around. And I love the fact that it's like still in this situation of there being a black hole, parallel universe, massive spiders invading. That the guy from NASA hasn't called the government. Like,
No.
it's more like we can deal with this. This is like let's just deal with this.
I've got the best sheriff in the business on my side. And as
It's
this
just giant
movie goes on,
spiders.
like more and more buttons become unbuttoned on his shirt.
Yeah. He just gets sluttier throughout the whole movie.
Now he's greased up for some reason. God damn.
Yeah, I mean, why do you need a government? It's only giant spiders. It's
Yeah.
not like it's giant ants.
And
It's
It's
just
like-
Wisconsin.
They come up
Yeah.
with this theory about using a neutron device, and so he kind of calls his
God.
buddy and he's like, "Hey,
It's insane
hey,
MacGuffin. Yeah.
we need a neutron device. We're gonna load it onto a helicopter, and hey, if that neutron device doesn't work, we're gonna be breakfast tomorrow. Anyway, cool. See ya." And
Yep.
it's just like he's not even like, "Why? Oh, there's giant spiders eating
Yeah.
everybody." It's more like just send this over so we can
Yeah.
prevent the end of the world. Why? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Well, this happens so much in this universe where
Right.
there's some
Yeah.
giant insect infestation somewhere that they have neutron devices on standby.
Yeah, I wonder if this was like the last great large insect movie before it like ruined. They're like, we can't do this anymore. No one wants to see giant insects.
There was,
Like-
there was a
like it's-
national
we're done,
fund
yeah.
set up to like
Yeah.
fund giant insect movies.
Mhm.
By this point, that national fund had run out.
Yeah,
so
Big Spider went
hasn't been
bankrupt
replenished since.
around
What this
about
movie didn't
point.
have, much like the movie Them did, where it's goes into the, I don't know if ornithology is the right word, but like the history of that insect, like what motivates
Right.
it. And this one doesn't have that. It's just like, oh shit, giant spideys.
And
Yep.
it's shot so badly. Like,
I mean,
There are so many scenes in this movie that take place in almost complete darkness.
Yeah.
One of my favorite jokes. I'm not going to bring up too many jokes from the Mystery Science version, but one of my favorites is at one point they're like, "Oh, they're shooting night for night here." So dark.
Yeah. God.
I like the bit
Yeah.
where the scientist and the astronomer are wandering around, and then suddenly the big spider kind of comes over the top.
Oh, they roll down the hill.
The way they roll down the
They
hill,
just
Oh my
tumble
God.
over each
they
other.
fall
Yeah,
over each
that
other.
was really funny.
Yeah, it was. I was like, that was the pratfall, quite literally, of that situation. Was just
Yeah,
it's
And it's
so.
like she tries to get back up, and he's like, no, we're still falling, and it just like knocks her down.
Yeah,
That
those
was-
are
that
the
was great.
heroes of the movie, by the way.
Yeah,
those
yeah.
are our protagonists.
That's what I'm saying, man. Oh, women can't be scientists.
And
They're
it's
too
again,
busy falling down
an
hills.
unexplained relationship, because later on he calls her
Yeah.
honey.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah.
he's getting to, and he's like, look, honey.
Well, that's just how you refer to women in movies. back then.
right.
Yeah.
What do you think he was going to say? You bitch.
Was he gonna
Different
call her
movie.
by her name? What, this
Oh,
is the 70s. Don't be ridiculous.
Come on, tough guy.
There's a director's cut of this movie.
Oh boy.
Oh hell yeah!
Will's like, I've got it right here.
It was released on Blu-ray in 2015. So
I've
Well,
got it
there we
right
go.
here.
it was kind of fun watching it on YouTube, because there were certain bits where the resolution is so low.
yeah.
It's like I think that says astronomy on the door. I can't really tell. And there was one whole scene that plays out where I think the camera was out of focus, where it's like
Oh, of course.
they're
Yeah.
in they're in the town and stuff like that. But this also, yeah, this movie definitely also feels like, guys, we're shooting in town. Anybody that wants to be in the movie, just come on by.
Yeah.
and you just got crowds running around. You've got like the baseball game. I like that, you know. And then you got the the giant spider.
Yeah,
just like
just like the crazies.
Good.
It is.
Like the crazies.
It's just like the crazies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing is it's they are shooting this. This is pure Wisconsin. It's shot in Wisconsin by a guy that ran for governor of Wisconsin, featuring people of Wisconsin shooting in their towns. It's like Wisconsin's high school movie project.
Yeah.
It's like the state got together and go, we're gonna make it's gonna be our magnum opus. Is
aim higher.
Yeah. The only way it could have been more Wisconsin is if Brett Favre was in it. Like that's the only thing.
All of these movies have a shocking lack of cheese.
That is, well, it's growing on them as like, you know, in between takes. That's
Amanda? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there's a bit like there's a bit later on where the spider kind of just randomly catches fire. It's never fully explained how they did that. They just
But not before it eats fucking Dutch in the most gross.
Yeah.
It's like it sucked it up through its butthole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were again. I like that when people were getting eaten. So I was reading about this one. This kind of like boils down, I guess, how the movie was being made. But the film was supposed to include a shot of a big spider in a tree bursting into flames. The director covered the spider with gunpowder and had 2 crew members sit above it in the tree to drop
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay, that's amazing.
That's the most Wisconsin thing I've ever
The
heard.
director got the camera up to very high frames per second to achieve slow motion, had them drop the first match, nothing happened. So they drop a second match, still nothing happens. So they lit the entire book of matches, drop it on the spider, nothing happens. Director turns off the camera just as the spider explodes.
Yes.
So burning the hair off several crew members and starting a small brush fire. And the director was furious he wasn't able to get the shot. That kind of reminds me of the most famous shot from Forrest Gump, where he's running away from Vietnam.
From the giant spider. Yeah.
Massive giant spider. And there's that huge explosion.
Oh, yeah, that napalm shot.
And they set it all up. They get it ready to go. Everyone's thinking, got it, cameras rolling, get it, let's do it. And Robert Zemeckis was in a porta potty taking a shit and missed. Everyone was like, we did everything but notice that the director wasn't there. So like he missed it. He missed the massive, he comes out and goes, what was that? Oh, we did the shot with,
oh my God.
Who called action? You know?
Aw, but I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Oh my God, the vehicle was driven, so oh my God, the giant spiders are mounted on Volkswagen Beetles. But the vehicle was driven in reverse with its taillights acting as the creature's red eyes.
Yes.
Oh, this movie's
awesome.
Amazing.
Best giant spider since Wild Wild West.
I'd say better. Better. Because at least this wasn't, well, I was about to say this wasn't dreamed up by a crazy person, but never mind. The director of this movie did pour gunpowder on a
Hey, you're talking about our mayor.
Governor. Ran for governor.
Put some respect on the name of what's his name again?
Yeah, Governor Alan Hale Jr. Bitch.
Yes,
Bill Remain.
He our little buddy.
Oh shit! I was so upset he didn't refer to anyone as little buddy in this movie. I kept waiting for it too.
He did at the very beginning. He just what's his name, Bland guy or whatever came in. He's like, "Hi, Sheriff." He goes, "Hi, little buddy." Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he winks at the camera.
Because Alan Hale did not care. He got his paycheck, and he's like, "All right, you got me for 2 days."
You only paid me for one little buddy.
Yeah.
So yeah, some combination of a neutron device being dropped on the black hole, which is a tiny black hole, then is triggered by a flare, sets the spider on fire, but then melts the spider in a very sort of Gremlins-esque way. Towards the end, it's that amazing bit the way Stripe melts and it becomes gross. The spider just melts and then it turns into a pile of goo, and then we get another ending. Credits.
Yeah.
Like two movies that just go at the end.
You would think they could have just rigged up like a giant magnifying glass and just that would have been fucking funny.
Just a tremendous raid can.
That's
like some Mel Brooks shit.
Yeah.
Give me that. That's better movie.
Yes.
But not gonna lie, this movie is
so fun.
So fun!
So
I enjoy
fun.
the shit out of watching it. It's terrible, but
I wished our schedules could have aligned better this week, where we could have watched some of these movies together. At least this one, maybe the Incubus, but oof.
But this was a giggle
was fun.
because of it, because it just
Yeah.
seems to be
It's
so
schlocky and so cheesy.
yeah, people having a bit of fun. And what's the plot? Doesn't fucking matter. You know,
It does
like,
seem like such a student film.
it does. You know, yeah.
we're
Look
just
down
having
the
fun.
barrel, make a joke, no problem. Like, let's joke about how she's a prostitute. It's like, you know, let's just explain it as a black hole. And cool, done. Let's get the whole town out. Like you said, we'll build a parade float. We'll get all the kids to take part. I bet. Oh wait, I bet all of these kids, you know, they're now grandparents or something. You know, telling the story about I was in that movie. That's me. There's me running away. You know, it's like, it just seems like it brought the community together.
Yeah,
It's the movie that made back braces sexy. Let me tell you.
That came up a lot in this movie.
I love that actor. God, wasn't it Robert? I think
Robert Easton.
Easton. He fantastic. I love that.
Maybe the
dude.
best part of this movie.
Oh yeah,
What a
and
fucking
like I was
sleazeball.
telling you, he's in another. Sorry, 1 second. He's in another Mystery Science movie called Touch of Satan, where get this, you're not going to believe this. He plays a hillbilly. It's wow.
Typecast.
Dude,
But
he's in Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country.
As
he
the
sure
hillbilly.
is. Yes, he is.
Klingon judge.
Where he just screams, "Get out of my undiscovered country!"
He kind of does.
You
It's
Klingon
fantastic.
pieces
Outlaw
of shit.
undiscovered country. Yahoo!
Yeah, he has my favorite line in this movie, which is "You've been hitting the booze again."
Yeah.
When does she stop?
Yeah.
Also,
Just
probably
love
not
it.
going to be surprising to you. He's also in the Beverly Hillbillies movie.
Whoa.
And
he
also
has-
stormed the Capitol.
As classy gentlemen.
he has an incredible filmography. It
Yeah.
is huge. It dates all the way back to 1949. Doing all kinds of movies. To be quite honest, I mean, he's in Primary Colors, which is that John Travolta 1998 Mike Nichols movie. Merchants of Venice in 1998. Pet Cemetery 2. Working Girl. I mean, like, yeah. So I mean,
He was the
like,
working girl. Yeah.
he's in the original Pete's Dragon as well. So like, yeah, this guy, he worked. Like, he had a very familiar face.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was quite fun. Like, as
He'll
a
always be Dutch to me. You bitch.
but like, it's a movie where they just, let's do this, let's do that. Maybe this will work. Maybe that'll work. Who cares? Let's edit it together. Bish bash bosh. Put it together with some tape, and we'll bang it up on TV.
Yeah, and now they still famously show this movie in Wisconsin, right? Like it's. They claim
So
this?
you were saying something about that. So is that true?
I think I was reading, because that Mystery Science Theater got so popular, they screen this now like in Wisconsin.
So here we go.
Like,
Bill Rebane.
That's definitely how people know this movie.
So it's the guy. So Bill Rebane, the guy that directed it. There's the Bill Rebane Film Festival. Took place in Madison, Wisconsin, in May 2005. It was hosted by the Mystery Science Theater 3000 stars.
I remember hearing about this. Yeah.
God, he's.
Did you go?
No, I didn't go. But they're also from the Midwest, so like this is like I think one of the hosts, Mike Nelson, I think he's from Wisconsin.
Oh, nice.
So
Oh my God,
This is
look at this.
that's right. This is like the OG cast, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some great stuff here. There's some great stuff here. So Rebane remarked that he wasn't sure how the movie became popular, saying it wasn't a hit until it became a cult classic. Stated the movie grossed millions of dollars over the past 35 years, but he never saw a fraction of that money, calling it one of the most pirated movies in history. It is on YouTube for free. He's proud. I mean, like, he's proud of the impact that the movie made for the city of Merrill, Wisconsin. But a film historian found shells of the two 30-foot spiders with the intent of restoring them. But in 2013, one of them was stolen by Rebane.
yes.
Hell yeah.
That's the
Picture
most
some-
Wisconsin thing I've ever
Picture
heard.
some kind of like O.J. Simpson chase scenario where he's just going down the freeway in the
In the
spider.
Volkswagen with the little legs going like this.
Yeah, and the cops are just walking after him.
Yeah.
Like, what are you
Bill,
doing, man?
bring it
Yeah,
back.
come on. You'll
So-
never take me alive, bitch.
This movie is only 84 minutes long. Its budget was $300,000. Depending on who you asked, it either made $15 million or $2.3 million. But as it's been also said, I don't think anybody saw any of that money. It's just one of
Spiders
those.
made off with all of it.
It's one of those things that you should, if you're listening or watching this podcast, if you're watching the podcast, You can open a tab right now on YouTube and just Google it, and you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version. There's other podcasts that have done like a 2-hour version where they're talking about the movie as well. It's just one of those things you should see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an Oscar winner or anything like this. Get together with your buddies. If you're in a state that does it, roll some joints, get some drinks together. Just sit there with your buddies.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I might have people over later to watch it again.
just have a good time, because it is bizarre, it is strange, it is funny, it is weird, it is original, it is bonkers. But it is at the same time so much fun.
Yeah, and
I did enjoy it.
definitely watch it the way it was intended to be watched, which is being as drunk as the wife in this movie. Like, that is,
Yeah, drink
a fun
everything that
drinking
she
game.
drinks.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the drinking game. Whatever she drinks in this movie, you drink it at the same time and as fast
Yeah.
as she does.
Have your
You
cousins
will
over.
die, but it will be great.
Get your kissing cousins over, things like that.
Yeah.
Get
Call your
awkward.
rock guy.
Get your back brace and have a great
Hell
time.
yeah.
The other drinking game in this one was what Ryan texted, which was strange to me until I started watching the Incubus. But he goes, "Take a shot every time someone mentions sperm." If that was true, you'd be dead. The movie's only 90 minutes long. You'd die by minute 40.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'd be long gone.
The thing is, guys, that we have to pick which one of these movies is the most Wisconsin.
I already know
I
what it
think
is.
it's
I think we know.
and shut
Yeah.
case.
Yes.
It is not
Incubus.
even close for the other movies. Because while you've got The Great Outdoors, which is shot in California, and they do the Wisconsin beer thing. They put a little bit of that, and they do mention Wisconsin. The Incubus was shot in Ontario. It is technically in Wisconsin, but never really mentioned.
Never. It's never mentioned.
Yeah,
But-
never brought up.
The giant spider invasion is shot by a guy that ran for governor of Wisconsin. It is set all over Wisconsin. It stars Wisconsinites throughout this movie, and it is still today legendary in certain parts of Wisconsin for being this piece of shit movie that is just what it is. Guys, I don't even think there's a debate. This is maybe the first open and shut.
I think for once,
Yeah.
the first time we're all in agreement. Yeah. It's
Had
yeah,
you
If you
asked
watch-
me to predict at the beginning before watching these movies, never would I have thought that all three of us like,
yeah,
the Great Spider
no.
Invasion. Yep,
It always comes down to like I said, we say I think the order in which you watch these films is pretty important sometimes. And I'm glad I did The Great Outdoors first, then the Incubus. Then I already forgot what I did. What was the other two movies?
the Incubus.
Yeah.
I did the.
I don't remember-
I
I don't remember
did,
which one
I
was
did the
this.
Great Outdoors. I did Incubus. I did the Giant Spider Invasion, and I think that's
Right,
the way to do it. Because it was
but not before breakfast.
Not, but no.
before breakfast.
That is probably the way
Save
to
that
watch
one.
it.
Save that one for dessert.
Oh.
You sick fucks.
Yeah, I mean, I watched, The Great Outdoors and Incubus last night. I've seen Giant
Yeah.
Spider Invasion so many times. So
Yeah, you keep saying that.
Just-
For the listener at
can't tell
home,
you.
Will is part spider.
I felt really close to this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, watching this movie, you can't help it. Like cheese curds will just appear in front of you. That's
it's
how
so
Wisconsin
charming.
this movie is.
It's so there's just a charm about it, that
Yeah.
the Incubus does not have that charm. It takes
No.
itself far too seriously, and it is like very heavy subject matter.
Mhm.
And The Great Outdoors is just it is a classic for a reason. But as far as the most Wisconsin movie goes, yeah, I think it's
100%.
Can't
So
beat
that's,
it.
I mean,
on
it's,
board.
you and everybody at home should take the time to watch it.
Yeah.
You've got 80 minutes of your day. It's just
Yeah.
basically an episode of television. It is so fun and
So-
silly.
So much so that next season we're just gonna skip over Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Well, because the official movie, here you go, I heard it here first, that here in the United States, maybe the official movie to represent Wisconsin for all time, probably, is The Giant Spider Invasion from 1975. You can find it right now, available on YouTube for free, because no one gives a shit about this movie except all the people that love it for the cult classic that it is. But that does want me to get into kind of what Ryan is saying is the also rounds for Wisconsin. There wasn't an incredible amount to choose from. And even then,
Yeah.
you know, you get into something like the Incubus, which is technically, because you can find a couple of websites that say it's set in Galen, Wisconsin, but there's nothing to really say it. There were
Yeah.
other things. I mean, I know we talked about the lake house because I do want to see it. I've heard funny things about it, but a lot of them were just like non-specific Wisconsin. There are movies like Basketball. It's even like Major League and stuff like that because it a league of their
Yeah.
own because they happen to be in that like they passed through Wisconsin. I think the
Right.
movie Lars and the Real Girl was a movie I've been wanting to watch, but I couldn't find specifically.
About the Sylvester Stallone movie Fist, starring Rod Steiger.
There was
I
like
don't know.
Public Enemies, but that again, that's not Wisconsin. It just happens to have
Right.
a scene there and things like
Right.
that. So Wayne's World. So there was like this is one of
Public
those
Enemies.
there wasn't like a massive. It's the interesting thing about doing this podcast is there are some states that it's just you're drowning in movies. There's too many. But then you got things like this, which is like we got one or two, you know.
The
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, Simple Plan comes up.
Yeah,
which I still haven't
that's
seen.
not Wisconsin though, is
No.
it?
I don't-
'Cause I've been
it's
Set in
circling it.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the one I've been holding in my pocket for Minnesota. 'cause
There's
that-
one called Space Cop.
I haven't
Oh,
seen
that's
Simple
the
Plan.
Red Letter Media guys. That's their movie.
What about Transformers: Dark of the Moon, famously set in Minnesota?
There's
And
Silent
the
Night,
Moon.
the 2012 slasher, like Santa
Oh,
slasher
the
movie.
remake of the
Yeah, so that's
the old-
set in the small town of Cryer, Wisconsin. That's Malcolm McDowell.
Keanu Reeves' Chain Reaction.
No.
I was gonna pick Back to School because it is shot at that University of Wisconsin, but I don't think it's a very
Oh.
Wisconsin movie, though it is one of my favorites.
So I think next
got-
time around it's going to be a tricky. Hopefully there'll be a Giant Spider Invasion 2.
Incubus
Ooh.
2, still Incubusing.
Incubus 2. A man Incubus? Question mark.
But it's like, yeah, there's I'll be interested. Like Wisconsin, you are a weird state. I'm going to give you this. Like the fact that, but I also like you because you teamed together as a state and you made the Giant Spider Invasion, and that's it. You're
You
like,
do
guys,
not give a fuck.
yeah, we've done it. We've created the ultimate Wisconsin movie. You know, this if only the guy had run for governor and won.
Ah,
You know,
Man.
that would have been the ultimate.
on a platform of spiders.
Spiders for everyone. Yeah, Wisconsin is like is the fun drunk of like your group of friends,
Yeah.
like somebody who's like they're a mess, you know, they're drunk all the time, but you know what?
Yeah.
They're not problematic. They don't
no.
start fights. It's just a party every time.
Just a little bit racist, just a little bit
Just
incesty,
a little,
Yeah.
but in a funny way.
Yeah.
Casual
Basically,
incest.
Wisconsin is personified by the drunk lady from Giant Spider Invasion.
Yes. Oh,
You're
yeah.
a bit fun.
Yes.
You're a bit horny. You're a bit cute. And you're a bit drunk.
And
I
worth
think she's
every,
on their state flag.
hell yeah. And worth every quarter.
Yeah.
That's right. We
Oh,
must
man.
mention that moment where the hillbilly has once again spent the night with his prostitute
And
friend.
this is after he's come across like a sea of diamonds. So
Yeah.
in his
Yes.
mind, he is shockingly wealthy.
Yeah.
So go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
He's yeah, no, exactly. And so he's even brought the diamonds with him. She gives the diamonds back and he tips her 25 cents.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it is 20 cents more than he normally tips her. So
And adjusted for inflation, that's 30 cents.
That's not just the tip that she was talking about. Like, but that's just boiling down his character is like, that's what this movie is. It makes a joke out of him tipping a prostitute a quarter.
Yeah.
God
Yep.
bless this movie and God bless Wisconsin.
Capitalism.
yeah.
With a capital spider.
So, yeah, I think this has been one of those sort of strange weeks, a very strange week, one that I very much enjoyed. I think it's only going to get stranger because we've got such a fascinating list of states to go. So we're going to cross out Wisconsin with a little star next to it for weirdest states so far. You crazy, crazy people, which means we're going to decide where we're going next week. And I'm going to go the same random approach that we went last time. I'm going to mix it up. I'm doing circles. Okay. Okay, which one am I closest to? Oh, okay, good. I've been wanting to do this one. West Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. We go to West Virginia next week, or I think I've got a movie for this one. I think there's going to be lots of coal movies when we get into it. So yeah, get your thinking caps on, guys. I want you to think about West Virginia. Ryan, enjoy watching the giant spider invasion.
Hell yeah.
And for everybody at home, I tell you, this is some homework. I want you to watch that movie, and I want you to reach out, and I want you to tell us what you think about the giant spider invasion. It was a bonkers time. You can find me online as Ollie Pettigrew, or That Englishman in Texas. You can find Will on TikTok and Instagram as entitled Willennial. You can't find Ryan, because that's just the way that Ryan is. But he does like to create insane, fun t-shirts and movie posters and things like that, and you can find that on his threadless.com/Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. He's also got an Etsy store and stuff like that. So he sells all kinds of stuff and it's really fun. But I want you to find us on our Facebook page, The United States of a Movie, on our Reddit, The United States of a Movie, and let us know what you think of the giant spider invasion. What are the things that we didn't talk about? I mean, there's just, that movie was wall-to-wall bonkers. Will, thank you so much for bringing it into our lives.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was great.
It was great to
What's the
share
question?
this little part of my soul and my history with all of you guys.
You're welcome. The state that we're heading to next week will be West Virginia. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't already follow us, do that. Follow us, rate us if you can. That would help. Share us with a friend that loves movies as well, so you might like to enjoy us, get together and listen to it. If you're watching us on YouTube and you haven't, subscribe, drop us a comment, jump in the comments and let us know. Hit the little notification bell as well. That'll be great. But until then, Will, thank you so much. Ryan, thank you so much for, as always, your fantastic observations and jokes. So from me, Will, and Ryan, thanks again, once again, for watching this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast.